Chapter 171. Shin Yushu has been in business for many years. Not only has he accumulated a lot of wealth, but his relationships are also extremely complicated. With Teacher Qin's cultivation, he's naturally not afraid of their revenge. However, clowns aren't worth laughing at. What I'm afraid of is that they won't take revenge on Teacher Qin. In the past, many people like this would turn to take revenge on society in despair. If that happens, I'm afraid that many people will be implicated and suffer. Perhaps thousands of ordinary people will die because of this mistake. Before, there have been many similar incidents. The number of casualties is innumerable. Based on this reason, we have to take precautions. Ning Suifeng faintly sighed. His expression was actually one of compassion. Meng Tianyue's face was heavy. That year the Hua family is an obvious example. After the main culprit was executed, his son was only a young man in his 20s. The person involved gave him a way out. Who would have thought that the kid of the Hua family would not be grateful and turn over a new leaf? Instead, he used countless vicious methods to make a large amount of poison. He poisoned the water sources of Phoenix City, and then set fire to the oil depot. Later, when he was chased into a corner, he held a bomb and detonated it in a crowded place. One person poisoned tens of thousands of victims, Meng Tianyue said heavily. Teacher Qin, perhaps you don't understand our feelings, but Phoenix City is our hometown. This risk we cannot take it and we dare not take it. Qin Fengyang only felt a breath stuck in his stomach. He felt like he was being fed to flies by the other side. He waved his hand in annoyance. Take it away. Take it away. Meng Tianyue ordered. The girls didn't say a word and immediately got to work. A few girls from outside quickly came in and opened the windows to speed up the air circulation. Then they used their martial arts to spray water vapor in the air and waved their sleeves as if they were dancing. In just a moment, the air in the entire office was changed. Throughout the whole process there wasn't the slightest bit of chaos and there wasn't much noise. It was actually quite pleasing to the eye. After a moment, the whole space was filled with the fragrance of tea. The air was fresh and pleasant. Boss Meng and Master Ning, it's understandable and reasonable that you have such concerns. However, isn't it too impulsive and extreme to slaughter the whole family so easily? Qin Fengyang took a deep breath. At the very least it doesn't conform to the laws. Meng Tianyue smiled faintly. Teacher Qin, are you testing us? Haha. Teacher Qin, no matter when, in every dynasty including the era of martial destruction, those who have money, power, influence, and ability, when have they ever cared about laws? Ning Suifeng also said in a sarcastic tone, in an era where the law clearly stipulates monogamy, there are still many people who have a lot of wives and concubines, and there are also some who can't even pick up trash. When everyone is equal, in fact, there are still some people who are superior and some who are lowly. When princes break the law and are punished the same as commoners, there are countless people who are playing with other people's lives. Is the so-called approachable really a compliment? Everyone wants to be at the top. Why? Isn't it just for the sake of sometimes being able to ignore some things and do as one pleases? And isn't this the common goal that everyone pursues? No matter what era it is, Teacher Qin, society has always been that kind of society. Everyone is blaming others for breaking the rules, morals, and laws. But at a certain point, everyone's pursuit is to trample on and break these rules. Teacher Qin, don't you think this is ridiculous? Qin Fengyang narrowed his eyes and said, ridiculous? Ning Suifeng smiled faintly. Let's not talk about other things. These few families hired assassins to kill people and burn scenic spots. This is already a heinous crime that cannot be forgiven. We killed them to enforce justice on behalf of the heavens and even. Ning Suifeng actually took out a banner from his spatial ring and said, our actions are to uphold justice and good citizens. It was actually a banner from the law department of Phoenix City. On it was written, be loyal to the law, assist in solving cases, maintain law and order, good citizens. Ha ha ha. Qin Fengyang shook his head and laughed. At this moment he really didn't know what to say. But our two families did this together. We didn't inform Teacher Qin in advance. This is our fault. We overstepped our boundaries. Meng Tianyue said somewhat apologetically. In order to express our apologies, we have prepared some gifts for Teacher Qin. Please don't reject them. These should be your benefits. Supposed to be my profit? Qin Fengyang frowned. He already knew what the so-called benefits were, so now he had a stomach full of anger that he wanted to vent. He really wanted to press the heads of these two powerful people in front of him into a cesspool. But Qin Fengyang understood very well. There were many things that couldn't be done on a whim. May I know what this is? Meng Tianyue took out a bank card, placed it on the table and pushed it over. In this card there is 1 billion star yuan. Qin Fengyang's eyes moved slightly. In this ring there are 10 Astral Souls flame pills and 10,000 pieces of high-grade Astral Souls jade. This is a cultivation technique. It is said that if one cultivates with it, one can cultivate to the realm above the cloud transformation realm. These things naturally won't enter Brother Qin's eyes. But it is a little token from our two families. Meng Tianyue smiled very amiably. Our two families without your consent did this. Actually, the main purpose is to make friends with Teacher Qin. Ning Suifeng said smilingly, Teacher Qin, I know that this request is very abrupt. I hope that Teacher Qin can give us some face on account of our sincerity. Qin Fengyang really wanted to explode on the spot. He really didn't have any good impression of these two people in front of him, especially looking at the sky-high wealth in front of him. Qin Fengyang's heart was throbbing with pain. God knows how many heroes, because of these tricks, these things, hindered the pace of serving the country and killing the enemy, and became other people's lackeys. But he couldn't find a reason to explode. No matter what, it was others who worked hard for him, helping him to solve some problems. Even if he didn't need their help, even if their methods were very bad, they had already done it. What should he do about this matter? Qin Fengyang suddenly thought of a person. Zhou Xiaoduo. If Zhou Xiaoduo was here, what would that guy do? What should he do? Thinking that there was no one else to discuss this matter with, and he had a headache about this kind of matter, Qin Fengyang stood up and said, I want to make a phone call. Make a phone call? Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng were both stunned. Brother Qin, please go ahead. Qin Fengyang walked quickly to the window and pushed it open. His body shot up into the sky like an arrow. After confirming that there were no spies around, he hid in the clouds and dialed the number. The call was connected. Zhou Xiaoduo's voice came. Teacher Qin, I have an urgent matter now, and I need your help to make a decision. Qin Fengyang said hurriedly, it's like this. In a few words he told what had happened just now. Zhou Xiaoduo was directly confused. Isn't this matter simple? What's there to ask? Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't help but sigh. Teacher Qin, you're too honest and reasonable. You can't go on like this. What's that saying again? A gentleman can be bullied. It's probably referring to people like you, although you're not a gentleman. Qin Fengyang was speechless. He really wanted to go through the phone and beat the guy up. Just say what you want to say. Cut the crap. Zhou Xiaoduo rolled his eyes. He called specifically to ask for advice, and he was actually so rude to Master Xiaoduo. His words were dirty. If it weren't for the fact that he couldn't beat him, he would definitely beat him up. This matter is simple. You just have to be like this. And like this. If they say this, you do this. And if they say that, you do this. And like this. Zhou Xiaoduo gestured as he spoke, his saliva flying everywhere. Qin Fengyang had been listening quietly. His face was as calm as when he was in school. On the other side, Zhou Xiaonian and Mu Yanyan's expressions became more and more strange as they listened. Finally, Zhou Xiaoduo hung up the phone. Both of them gave him a thumbs up. You're too mean. What's wrong with your head? On the other side, Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng looked at each other. He was talking and going out to make a phone call? He actually flew out to make a call? Do you know who we are? We're the top figures in Phoenix City, okay? One of them is a super rich person in Phoenix City and even the Astral Souls continent. The other is a martial arts family with thousands of years of history. He actually left us aside to make a call. And he even made a call for such a short time. Isn't that a bit too much? At this moment, both of them felt that they were in trouble. They just wanted to get rid of the troublemaker and do him a favor. Why? Did it turn out like this? Meng Tianyue hinted with her eyes. I feel that something is wrong. Ning Suifeng responded with his eyes. It's okay. Qin Fengyang has no enmity with us. With his strength and cultivation, it's normal for him to have some attitude. I'm saying that his attitude today is not right. Yes, it's his own attitude that is not right. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. He has the ability to solve the problem, but we interfered and took the opportunity to do him a favor. It's equivalent to accepting a favor. He must be holding a grudge in his heart. This time we're just taking the opportunity to get to know each other. It's not like we're going to establish a relationship immediately. With Teacher Chin's usual behavior, he must have some complaints about our actions. That's right. If he were to deal with it personally, he wouldn't be so extreme. But we've already shown enough sincerity. He can't refuse. He's definitely going to bear this favor. Then our trip won't be in vain. Both of them knew that Qin Fengyang's cultivation was high. He would definitely hear what they said. They only exchanged glances. After that exchange, both of them felt relieved. Chapter 172. As the saying goes, you can't hit a smiling person. Moreover, we solved a big problem for you and gave you a lot of wealth. Qin Fengyang, no matter how indifferent you are to fame and fortune, no matter how high you think you are, or how much you fish for fame, I don't believe that you would not care about such a huge amount of wealth. Unless you are a saint. Indeed, in this world there is no one who doesn't like money. Absolutely no one. Even those who said that they were so poor that they only had money left, or that money was just a string of numbers, were just words that had been embellished with words. It was still another layer of meaning that they were very, very rich and liked money very much. There is really no one who doesn't like money. The only difference was the extent to which he could restrain this desire. A figure flashed and Qin Fengyang returned from the sky. He returned to the sofa where he was originally sitting and sat down steadily. He picked up the cup and drank a mouthful of tea, tasting it with relish. Then he praised, "Good tea." Ning Suifeng laughed. "It's rare that Teacher Qin likes it. I will get someone to send it to your school later. Give me 1 kilogram first." Qin Fengyang smiled faintly. "Then I will thank you in advance." Qin Fengyang slowly raised his head and smiled. "Bosses, we've never met before. Since the two of you have shown such kindness, I'm sure you have a request. I'm a straightforward person. If there's anything you need from me, Qin Fengyang, don't hesitate to tell me. If it's something I can do, I'll do my best. If it's something I can't do, I'll be frank and find other ways to return the favor." The two of them burst into laughter. "Teacher Qin, you've misunderstood us. We just want to make friends with you, that's all. After all, as long as one is alive in this world, even if one is missing something, one can't lose a friend." "Friends?" Qin Fengyang smiled and picked up the bank card and flicked it. Meng Tianyue smiled. Ning Suifeng smiled too. "Ah." Qin Fengyang slammed the bank card on the coffee table and said coldly, "Friends can play tricks on me like this? Play tricks?" Meng Tianyue was confused. "Brother Qin, why do you say that? Although our actions this time are overstepping our boundaries, our intentions are sincere. There is really nothing else." Qin Fengyang said lightly, "Sincere? Was there? I've done my research before, and with Shen Yushu's net worth as a big shot in Phoenix City, even if it's discounted, he still has over 100 billion in assets. Am I wrong?" "That's right. The karma between me and Shen Yushu, as the person directly involved, is the one most qualified to discuss how to resolve it. Isn't that the logic?" Qin Fengyang said indifferently, "If I settle it myself, everything left behind by Shen Yushu will be mine. Do the two of you have any objections?" Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng. "Da. Could this matter still be considered this way? Qin Fengyang, are you a martial artist or a businessman? Although what you said seems to make sense, this statement is definitely not recognized by the law. They even wanted to arrest you. How come it's all yours now?" That was wishful thinking. More than 100 billion worth of wealth and assets, as well as the good things that Shen Yushu had plundered for so many years, heavenly treasures and earthly treasures. All these good things will eventually fall into my hands, and now you're giving me this? Qin Fengyang sneered. "What kind of person do you take me for? To send a beggar away? Then you want me to be grateful and treat the two of you as my best friends." After listening to Qin Fengyang's argument, Ning Suifeng was so angry that his chest puffed up. Who the hell would use 1 billion to send a beggar away? Then I'll go and beg too. In fact, the two families did this because they did not lack the idea of embezzling Shen Yushu's assets. Anyone with a discerning eye knew that Shen Yushu, who had provoked an expert at the peak of nascent soul, would definitely die. The karma between the two parties had been established, and they would not rest until death. Qin Fengyang would never let Shen Yushu go. The two families thought about it and took the opportunity when Shen Yushu came to find Meng Tianyue to directly detain and kill him, and then a series of operations that anyway, even if Qin Fengyang killed Shen Yushu, he would not get Shen Yushu's assets. At most he would vent his anger, and at most he would take away some good things. And the two of them thought that this was a happy situation. Who would have thought that Qin Fengyang was not satisfied? This was completely out of their expectations. Then Teacher Qin is not satisfied with these gains? Meng Tianyue was really puzzled. You're just a martial arts school teacher. How big is your appetite? It should be said that I'm quite dissatisfied. I was forced to expose my identity that I've been hiding for decades, and I don't know how much trouble there will be in the future? Qin Fengyang snorted. What can these things do? In an instant, Meng Tianyue, Ning Suifeng and Meng Qintian in the room all felt a toothache. 1,010 astral souls flame elixirs, 10,000 pieces of top-grade astral souls jade, and an ancient book of cultivation methods. In exchange, they were actually asked what can they do? This damn sentence actually could not be answered. You said that. What can they do? The two of us sincerely want to be friends with Teacher Qin, so please tell us the amount. How much do you want to be satisfied? Ning Suifeng's face was already a little ugly. This Qin Fengyang, isn't he too insensible? Even if you're an expert at the peak of nascent soul, we're not ordinary people? Qin Fengyang's face was cold as he said, this unforeseen event is beyond my expectations, and it took me a lot of effort. But after all, the two of you have put in some effort. If I take all of these away, it's really not appropriate. Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng frowned at the same time. Not appropriate? You actually want to take all of it? So I'll take a big step back. As for the money, I only want 50 billion. It's fine if it's less, but I can't let you work for nothing. As for the Astral Soul's flame elixirs, since Shen Yushu can take out 10 of them as a reward for my life, then he must have a few hundred of them in stock. I want 100 Astral Soul's flame elixirs, and 100 elixirs of the same grade will do. And 100 heaven and earth treasures that are more than 10,000 years old will do. I, Qin Fengyang, am not an unreasonable person. In this way, the two of you can still get a huge amount of wealth. You won't have worked for nothing, and you can consider it as repaying the favor this time. When Qin Fengyang said this, Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng's mouths were open so wide that 2 duck eggs could be stuffed in. Oh right, and the top-grade jade of astral souls, he can easily take out 10,000 yuan. It's impossible that he doesn't have at least 1,000,000 yuan in stock. I need this stuff, so I'll take 500,000 yuan. This is my bottom line. I hope the two of you won't say anything else. As for the ancient books of martial arts, he can take out 1, so he must have more. With the foundation of Meng clan and Ning clan, these little things are useless to you. I'll take all of them. You should have at least 10 ancient books of martial arts, right? After Qin Fengyang finished, the whole office was so silent that even the sound of a needle dropping could be heard. Qin Fengyang frowned as if he was thinking about it and said, the two of you, my request isn't too much, right? I've already taken a big step back. Do the two of you still want me to take another step back? Ha 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 ha. Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng sneered at the same time. Not too much, right? How thick-skinned are you, Qin Fengyang, to be able to say these words? If this isn't too much, then what is? Taking a big step back? You still want me to take another step back? You've already taken a step back? You're not joking, are you? Ha ha ha. Ning Suifeng was smiling, but his eyes were as cold as ice. He slowly said word by word, Teacher Qin, are you joking with me? Bang! Qin Fengyang unexpectedly slammed the table and shouted in disdain, who do you think you are? Joking with you. Are you worthy? Suddenly he put on a hooligan's face. To be honest, Qin Fengyang's hooligan face was really not flattering. After all, he was not a hooligan. He was just acting according to the script that Swishaoduo gave him. If Swishaoduo did this, Ning Suifeng would have fainted from anger. But even so, Ning Suifeng's face was already ashen, and his eyes were full of crazy killing intent. He had been the underground emperor of Phoenix City for more than 200 years. This was the first time in his life that someone pointed at his nose and said, "Are you worthy?" Teacher Qin. Meng Tianyue's face was as cold as ice. "We have good intentions." Good intentions? Embezzling my assets is good intentions? Then what if it is bad intentions? Qin Fengyang felt that he was getting more and more into the role, and his eyes were filled with anger. Shin Yushu and I have already established our karma. Our grudges have already been settled, and we won't rest until one of us dies. You guys rashly intervened, killed him, and took the money into your own pockets. Then you give me the scraps and you say it's good intentions. Boss Meng, no wonder your business is so big. And you're the richest person in Phoenix City. It'd be weird if you didn't become the richest person in the city by doing business like this. Meng Tianyue took a deep breath and tried to restrain herself. Teacher Qin, you can't calculate things like this. It's true that Shin Yushu has hundreds of billions of assets, and I recognize this no matter where he goes. But with his hundreds of billions of assets, just the liquid assets alone are no less than 30 billion. There's also his group, land, equipment, factories, stores. These fixed assets can't be immediately converted into cash. And the amount of cash that can be taken out is no more than 10 billion. You're asking for 50 billion right now. Don't tell me you want us to subsidize our assets to you. Meng Tianyue wanted to vomit blood. Not to mention the other things. Teacher Qin, are you deliberately making things difficult for us? If we really do as you say, what's the point of us doing this? Qin Fengyang said matter-of-factly. What's the point of you doing this has to do with me? Who told you to do it? You guys aren't even meddling in other people's business, you're just forcibly intervening. What right do you have to interfere in my business? Did you ask for my permission? The more Qin Fengyang spoke, the angrier he became. Today at 4 p.m. Looking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. I'm a little sad. After erupting for so long, I'll get a few more monthly votes. Chapter 173. At this moment Qin Fengyang was using the anger manual that Zhou Xiaoduo taught him. If you can't get angry and can't get angry, think more about how these two people deceived and used the old principle. Can you bear it? The old principle was bullied to this extent, and you can still bear to drink tea with them, that it had to be said that Zhou Xiaoduo's words were too vicious. Qin Fengyang's anger was at most a little bit, but after Zhou Xiaoduo's words, it directly ignited his internal organs. That anger directly soared to the sky and was about to turn into a dragon. I can't. Ning Suifeng's nose was trembling. He said sternly, Qin Fengyang, don't push me too far. I'm not someone to be trifled with. Qin Fengyang slammed the table and stood up. You're not someone to be trifled with, but you think I, Qin Fengyang, am a vegetarian? Old thing, why don't you try? Do you think I killed a few thousand people in one battle for no reason? Do you believe that I won't turn your Ning family upside down too? If you have the ability, show me your teeth again. Qin Fengyang pointed at Ning Suifeng's nose, his gaze sharp as if he was looking at the enemy who killed his father. Old bastard, I'm giving you face and you don't want it? Must you see the blade? Do you think I can't pull it out? Do you think I don't dare to? This general of the 5 forces who had been concealing his strength for 28 years, had completely awakened under the stimulation of his extreme anger. He had never been this aggressive before. At this moment Qin Fengyang was valiant from head to toe. His face and eyes filled with the aura of a bandit. That moment of impact made Ning Suifeng feel as if he was about to have a heart attack. Meng Tianyue didn't feel any better either. She only felt that her blood pressure was rushing up. This was a teacher? This was actually a fucking teacher. The teacher of the warrior class, who had remained indifferent for the past few decades, had remained silent all year round. Cough, cough, cough. Meng Tianyue coughed hard. Cough, cough, cough. Ning Suifeng covered his chest and coughed. The two of them were now competing with each other in regret. If they knew this would happen, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. As for Shen Yushu, why not just let Qin Fengyang handle it himself? There was no need for the two of them to be blinded by greed. Although Shen Yushu's burning of the mountain had more or less destroyed Phoenix Tail Mountain and affected the overall feng shui of Phoenix City, the degree of impact could not be said to be negligible. It was not too much of a hindrance. The two of them were more confident. Qin Fengyang was indeed a powerhouse at the peak of nascent soul, but he didn't have the manpower, material and financial resources to take over all of Shen Yushu's assets. Sooner or later they would fall into the market. With the combined power of the two, it was just a matter of convenience to deal with them. It was not much different from directly taking over. Now this was great. He wanted to use this opportunity to make friends with a nascent soul expert, but he didn't expect that he would be such a pain in the ass. This was simply fucked by a fuck dog. The two of them didn't know that since Qin Fengyang knew about He Yuanyue's matter, he had always wanted to find trouble with them. It was just that he didn't have the right opportunity. Qin Fengyang himself was very depressed. Now a pillow came when he wanted to sleep. How could Qin Fengyang not use this as a pretext to make a fuss and completely vent the anger in his chest? Not to mention that there was Wuxia Duo, the dog-headed military advisor who was afraid that the Meng and Ning families wouldn't fall and the world wouldn't be in chaos. The way he thought of was as unreasonable as it could be, and as arrogant as it could be. He was as greedy as a lion's mouth could be. Qin Fengyang. Ning Suifeng's throat seemed to be bellowing. You dare to be presumptuous. Although you are tyrannical, after all, you are only at the peak of nascent soul. Even in Phoenix City, you are not invincible. Let me tell you, in my eyes, you are nothing. Haha, so that's the case? Then you just wait. I'd like to see what I am in your eyes. Qin Fengyang's face was full of ruthlessness. As the saying goes, taking people's money is like killing their parents. From today onwards, I will be against your two families. In the future, don't blame me if someone in your family mysteriously dies. I'll say it here. If you die without descendants, it has nothing to do with me, Qin Fengyang. You provoked me first. A threat. A red guagua threat. But at this point, Qin Fengyang himself was a little dumbfounded. It seemed that he had gone a little too far. According to Zhou Xiaoduo's plan, at least at this stage, these two people couldn't die, let alone start to kill people from these two families. Once these two families were in turmoil, the consequences would be extremely serious. He really couldn't afford it. Now that the enemy was in the dark while he was in the light, it was a good time to follow the clues and beat them at their own game. Not to mention anything else, if the two families were in trouble, the economy of the entire Phoenix City would experience a huge fluctuation. Countless people would lose their jobs and countless people would have no food to eat. These were all foreseeable realities. At least, as Zhou Xiaoduo's established plan, a smooth transition that didn't affect the lives of millions of people in Phoenix City was obviously impossible. After venting his anger, Qin Fengyang began to regret in his heart. In the end, I'm not as thick-skinned as Wuxia Xiaoduo. If this kid was here, he would definitely put on a smiling face and say, Aya, why are you so angry? If you have any objections, we can talk about it again. I'll give you a sky-high price. Why don't the two of you pay me back? Let's discuss. Everything can be discussed. It wasn't that Qin Fengyang didn't want to do this. He wanted to say this in his heart, but his negative emotions towards the other party forced him to say it out loud. Zhou Xiaoduo can be shameless, but can I be as shameless? I still have to be a role model in the future. Bah, I've always been a role model and a role model. Today was just a stopgap measure. Bah. Stopgap measures can't continue. It can't be repeated. Both sides were in a dilemma and gradually reached a state of mutual hostility. Suddenly, a voice broke the deadlock. Aya, Uncle Qin, Uncle Ning, Dad. Meng Qiantian still had a smile on his face as he said, We're a family, so why are we talking about this? We're just joking. Why can't we talk about it properly? Why can't we talk about it slowly? Meng Qiantian smiled. Dad, you're really too much. Even if you ask for a sky-high price, there's always someone who can pay you back. You and Uncle Ning are really too much. Uncle Qin was just joking with you. With his character and cultivation level, how can he really care about such a small thing? You guys are really good. You just directly got carried away. Ah! Meng Qiantian laughed and bowed to make Qin Fengyang sit down again. Then he went over to help Ning Suifeng to sit down. Finally, he helped Meng Tianyue to sit down. Then he said with some dissatisfaction, Dad, you and Uncle Ning are really. As a junior, I can see clearly. In fact, this matter is really not a big deal, but, to be honest, you two have been in a high position for too long. You really think you're in a superior position. Not only can you not put down your face, but your temper is getting worse and worse. This is not good. Although it's not my place to say this situation is not good for the business and future development of our two families, right? Then he turned his head and said in a sincere tone, Uncle Qin, according to common sense, what you said is not wrong at all. Any normal person would have the same thoughts as you. Chun Tian expresses my understanding. However, although your cultivation is high, you have never done business before. You don't know the twists and turns in this matter. With a face full of sincerity, he said in a gentle voice, in the business world, there is mutual deception and scheming. Naturally, there is also a lot of empty talk. Groups, buildings, companies, everything on the surface is just a shell. All the money is spinning on the road. In our words, only by spinning fast can you earn fast. To be more specific, it's in goods, real estate, and many, many more. It's in the form of money held down by business partners. The so-called $10 billion group can transfer no more than $100 million in cash at any time. This can be found everywhere. Take our South G City's Kongda Elixir Company for example. Everyone knows that he is the boss of a $100 billion company. Just a few days ago, he called me and planned to borrow $80 million in cash for a period of time. Really, this is not a lie at all. The transfer record is still with me. Shen Yushu's net worth is not small, but the results of his business these years are very ordinary, resulting in a huge backlog of inventory. His Shen Group is really just a shelf. Of course, if we estimate the total market value, there is still $100 billion. But when it comes to cash, even $10 billion is not enough. Meng Qiantian sighed. This is business. It's very difficult. Uncle Qin, you have to understand our difficulties. My father sincerely wants to be friends with you. As for taking advantage of you, it's just a small matter. To put it bluntly, we have already dealt with Shan Yushu through the government. Even if we don't tell you, Uncle Qin, isn't it fine to swallow it? Why should we make things difficult in front of you? Don't you think so? Think about it carefully. Isn't it just a small matter? It's just that my father and Uncle Ning are not willing to go against their conscience and can't do such a thing. So, there is really no such thing as embezzling your property. Meng Qiantian and the other two comforted him. Slowly, the three of them calmed down. Qin Fengyang took advantage of the situation, and Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng were also reminded by Meng Qiantian. Reason took over again. Qin Fengyang looked at Meng Qiantian. This was the first time he looked at Meng Qiantian. He realized that compared to Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng, this Meng Qiantian was the most difficult to deal with. It was not hard to imagine how meticulous this person's mind was just based on his eloquence and his thoughtfulness. Then what do you think we should do? Qin Fengyang slammed the table. Is this the so-called sincere way of making friends? You made me lose so many benefits for no reason. If it weren't for this wealth, do you think I would expose my identity and break the peace of my life for decades? You. Ning Suifeng was about to rush up again. But Meng Qiantian's words, I changed it 4 or 5 times. After all, I'm not a businessman and I'm not a smooth and slick person. So difficult. Chapter 174. Meng Tianyue had completely regained her senses. She panted and forced a smile. Teacher Qin, your original intention is not wrong. But the condition you proposed is too much. Perhaps you have already taken a big step back, but it is still unrealistic and even ridiculous. Qin Fengyang looked at him from the corner of his eyes, trying hard to control his impulse to slap him to death. There were already quite a number of people waiting outside. Qin Fengyang used his divine sense to check, and was surprised to find that there were a few people who were not weaker than him. He became more vigilant. The strength of these two clans was really unexpectedly deep and profound. Teacher Qin, I will say it again. We sincerely want to be friends with you. Things have changed to this point. It is not my wish, nor is it Master Ning's wish. Meng Tianyue said, how about this, I'll give you a number, and you can consider it carefully. If it works, then we'll both be happy. From now on we'll often meet each other, and at least we'll be acquaintances. If it doesn't work, then we'll have to rely on our own means in the future. Even if Brother Ning and I did something stupid today. Qin Fengyang was unmoved. Say it, I am listening. Star Yuan 10 billion. Astral Souls Flame Pill 200. 10,000-year-old Spiritual Herbs 10. High-grade Astral Souls Jade 20,000. The cultivation method is still the same. That is all. Do you think it is okay? Meng Tianyue said slowly. Ning Suifeng said angrily. Meng Tianyue smiled bitterly. Brother Ning, If Teacher Qin can accept it, I think it is worth it. Ning Suifeng gasped for breath. With just these, Shen Yushu's wealth was not enough. At the very least, the Star Soul Flame pill would require the two clans to contribute quite a bit. The 10,000-year spiritual herbs would also need to be contributed. Qin Fengyang looked at Ning Suifeng. Master Ning, I don't know what you think. Do you agree or disagree? Shda. Ning Suifeng opened his mouth and saw Meng Tianyue winking at him. He turned his head sullenly. I agree. Deal. Qin Fengyang slapped the table and laughed. The two bosses are indeed straightforward people. They are decisive and generous. If you want to fight, then... Hearing this, Ning Suifeng immediately turned around and got angry. Then he was stunned. Deal. Not only him but even Meng Tianyu was also a little confused. The deal was done just like that? Qin Fengyang actually did not take another step forward? I even left him a little room to bargain. Since the price has been settled, I'll have to trouble the two of you to make some preparations. I'm going to take it away now. Money is really a good thing. However, it's best to leave it in your own hands. That's the most reassuring and stable thing. There's no time to lose. A long night is fraught with dreams. Qin Fengyang crossed his legs and started drinking tea. At the same time he said, by the way, Master Ning, don't forget to send the 2 kilograms of tea you promised me tomorrow. Ning Suifeng. Okay. Meng Tian did not delay and went out to prepare the supplies. Only Meng Tianyue, Ning Suifeng and Qin Fengyang were left in the room. It had to be said that Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng were really sly old foxes. Just now they had lost control of their emotions. Now that they had regained their rationality, they were not angry at all. Instead, they started to talk and laugh with Qin Fengyang again. Boss Meng, Master Ning, your two families really have deep foundations. Qin Fengyang said leisurely, since we've cooperated, you can also let your shadow bodyguards rest. Won't they be tired if they stay like this all the time? Ning Suifeng laughed. Shadow bodyguards, their greatest value lies in the word shadow. If they come out, they're not shadow bodyguards anymore. He narrowed his eyes and said, besides, facing a super great master like Teacher Qin, without shadow bodyguards, how would I dare to hit the table with Teacher Qin? Then he burst into laughter. Qin Fengyang also laughed. He looked at the position beside Meng Tianyue, and then at the position beside Ning Suifeng. He sighed sincerely. With such bodyguards, no matter who wants to kill the two of you, it won't be an easy thing. Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng looked at each other and laughed in unison. Not long later, Meng Chuntian came back with a space ring. Teacher Qin, the money has been transferred to your card. The password is. As for the Astral Soul's jade, the elixirs, they're all in this ring. The elixirs have been stored in a warm jade box. Not bad, not bad. You're really not bad. Qin Fengyang praised. Then that's it for today? Master Ning, don't forget about the tea leaves. I really like them. Before he could finish his sentence, he stood up and left. Meng Tianyue smiled and said, Teacher Qin, if there's time, I'll call you and we'll drink tea together. I guarantee that it'll be good tea that Teacher Qin likes. Okay. Qin Fengyang's voice came from afar. The other side seemed to be thousands of feet away. What a loss. After a long time, when he was sure that Qin Fengyang was far away, Ning Suifeng sighed. It's indeed a loss. Meng Tianyue said. Our initial plan was to use a sum of money to buy him over, and make him owe us a favor. Then, he would help us do things. But the situation changed again and again. We didn't even have the chance to say what we wanted him to do. Even if we had the chance, it wouldn't have worked. If it wasn't for Chantian who came out to smooth things over, our relationship would have been strained. Meng Tianyue sighed. We misjudged Qin Fengyang's personality. We thought that he was a man of character and could be easily bullied. But we didn't expect that he's a typical outlaw. I'm guessing that the death of Shen Yushu's son, Shen Tainan, could have been caused by him. He used this to trigger Shen Yushu's killing intent. Then, he was killed by Shen Tainan and obtained a large amount of wealth. If not for this, he wouldn't have dared to be so arrogant. From the root of it, we're really snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Why else do you think I was willing to give him so much money just to let him get rid of his resentment? Our family is big, we can't afford to waste time with him. If he's determined to assassinate us, it'll be a headache. Losses will be inevitable. Meng Chuntian said quietly, but today's start is still a good thing. We can slowly contact him in the future. Friendship can't be built in a day. A friendship that can be built in a day isn't friendship, it's hypocrisy. That's right. Ning Suifeng nodded in agreement. Meng Tianyue said, Qin Fengyang's matter can be planned slowly. If it doesn't work, we can still put pressure on Second High. We can even reveal today's matter to Second High. We can label Shen Tianan's death and the plan to kill him as a conspiracy. It's a complete scheme to kill with a borrowed knife. Then, like that year, one in the light, one in the dark, one in the dark, one in the right, one in the right. Let He Yuanyue put pressure on Qin Fengyang. Won't everything be easy to do? That's right. Ning Suifeng said. It's true that our initial prediction was wrong. I didn't expect Qin Fengyang to be a troublemaker who doesn't play by the rules. It's really unexpected. Meng Chuntian frowned and said, Father, Master Ning, I'm afraid we can't make a conclusion about Qin Fengyang's character. When he first came in, and even when he met me, his personality was completely different. He probably said that he wanted to make a phone call, and after he answered the phone call, his whole person changed. I think this phone call is the key. Meng Tianyue suddenly woke up and said, That's right. Go and check who Qin Fengyang called just now. It's useless. Meng Chuntian said, I went out and checked just now. Qin Fengyang's registered phone number in Second High didn't show that he made a call. The number he used just now should be another secret number. It's impossible to check. Then we'll pay close attention later. Ning Suifeng stood up tiredly. I've had enough today. It's really been too long since I've had such an experience. I've actually tasted it all today. I'm going back to rest. Tomorrow I'll even send him tea leaves. Damn it. Meng Tianyue smiled bitterly and said, There's really no other way. Oh, by the way, Brother Ning, what do you think about the marriage between Chen Tian and Qingcheng? Ning Suifeng paused and sighed, saying, I've told that girl, but she's very wild now. She doesn't listen to me at all. Chen Tian, you see if you should take the initiative to get in touch with her more. After all, it's a matter between you young people. You can't expect me and your father to decide directly. How uncomfortable that would be. Meng Tian smiled and said, Okay, Uncle Ning. But as for Qingcheng, it's still up to her. I respect her choice. Ning Suifeng shook his head and sighed. He took his people and left. Meng Tianyue and Meng Chuntian looked at each other and were speechless. Let's discuss it again. Okay. Qin Fengyang left the Meng group and went straight back to Second High. He then walked around Second High, changed his clothes and rushed into the sky, hiding in layers of clouds. When he reappeared, he was already beside Zhuoxiaoduo's window. He gently knocked twice. Dong dong. Teacher Qin is here. Zhuoxiaoduo immediately opened the window. Qin Fengyang flipped in and nodded. Spiritual sense is here too. Zhuoxiaoyan bowed slightly. Hello, Teacher Qin. Good. Qin Fengyang said. How are the preparations on your side? Teacher Mu has already started. Zhuoxiaoduo looked unprecedentedly serious and said in a deep voice, When she comes back, we can start the next step of the arrangement. The problem now is, when can your people be in place? Qin Fengyang took out his phone and shook it, saying, Sister Lan and Luo Lai will come with one call. We've already agreed before. Let's gather outside the city. The risk of being exposed is lower. Okay. Zhuoxiaoduo was suddenly curious. Teacher Qin, how is it? How's the harvest this time? Qin Fengyang smiled, but he couldn't help but sigh, saying, This world is really the world of bandits and ruffians. But this success, I don't know what to say. Zhuoxiaoduo narrowed his eyes. This doesn't sound right. Sure enough, Qin Fengyang stared at Zhuoxiaoduo. Zhuoxiaoduo, your temperament is a bit skewed. Look at the ideas you came up with, aren't they pure ruffians? Chapter 175. Zhuoxiaoduo was speechless. This old man used my methods and wisdom to take advantage of me. And now he's lecturing me. This is intolerable. In this world, only bandits and hooligans can achieve their goals? Qin Fengyang lectured. Zhuoxiaoduo, you have to be careful. Zhuoxiaoduo was speechless. Teacher Qin, how much did you get? Can you give me a definite answer? Sigh. Qin Fengyang sighed. 10 billion star dollars, 200 astral souls flame pills, 10 10,000-year-old elixirs, 20,000 high-grade jade of astral souls, and a martial arts manual. Wow! Zhuoxiaoduo's eyes immediately turned into a resplendent golden color. He jumped for joy and grabbed Qin Fengyang's arm. Teacher Qin. Teacher Qin. My most respected and worshipped teacher Qin. Qin Fengyang's face turned cold. He swung his arm fiercely. Get off me. Zhuoxiaoduo's entire body hung on Qin Mo's arm tightly. He spun around a few times without letting go. His face was full of flattery, and his voice was extremely corny. Teacher Qin. Teacher Qin, you can't forget that I am a great contributor. I gave you advice, I was at your beck and call, and I worked my heart out for you. Teacher Qin, even if you eat meat, you have to let me, your student, drink some soup. Get lost. If you dare to say one more word about me, I'll kill you right now. Qin Fengyang had a thick layer of goosebumps all over his body. He swung Zhuoxiaoduo more than a dozen times, but he still couldn't shake him off. This showed how obsessed he was with money. He said angrily, this money is ill-gotten wealth, do you know that? What do you want it for? I plan to keep a portion of it in second high, donate another portion to the Empire's military, and donate the last portion to the Academy of Sciences. How many good things can be made with this much money? How many hot-blooded men can it save? You miser. I see. When Zhuoxiaoduo heard that it was a serious matter, he stopped pestering her. He paused for a moment and said, then I must donate with you. The donor is Qin Fengyang Zhuoxiaoduo. I spent a lot of money on this project. It's a must to have the right to sign the project. As long as you don't mind the trouble, it doesn't matter if you remove my name. Just write that it was donated by Zhuoxiaoduo. Anyway, I was planning to donate it anonymously. Qin Fengyang snorted and narrowed his eyes. But are you sure you want to donate using your real name? Zhuoxiaoduo shuddered at the thought of the trouble that would come with donating a huge sum of money. I'm not sure. You can't write my name. Master Zhuo has always done good deeds without leaving his name. Who do you think you are? Qin Fengyang slapped Zhuoxiaoduo and sent him flying onto the bed. Zhuoxiaonian looked distressed. Damn, this teacher is so rude. But as a teacher, no one could interfere when he was teaching his student a lesson. Moreover, he was teaching his student to get rid of his problems. Well, that damn mouth of his should be controlled. His parents and himself couldn't bring themselves to do it. With Master Qin's help, it would be a good thing. At this moment, the wind whistled outside the window. Mu Yinyan's beautiful figure came in through the window. Done. Master Mu, you are so awesome. It didn't take much time. Zhuoxiaoduo praised her from the bottom of his heart. Then he asked, is there any problem with the Meng Group's headquarters and the Ning family's ancestral grave? No problem at all. The whole process was carried out strictly according to your instructions. I can guarantee that no one will find out. Mu Yinyan was very indifferent. It would be strange if such a peerless master couldn't do such a sneaky thing without anyone noticing. As for the 2 stones placed in the 2 artificial lakes, I directly placed them in the soil 19 meters below the spring in the center of the lake. Zhuoxiaoduo was worried. They won't be washed away or moved by the water, right? How is that possible? Mu Yinyan looked at Zhuoxiaoduo with some displeasure. This kid, he doesn't trust me? Even if there is an earthquake, those 2 coins will be safe and sound. They will be as stable as a mountain. That's good, that's good. Zhuoxiaoduo immediately took on the role of commander-in-chief. Sister Nian, take the piggy bank and let's go. The follow-up operation begins. Enough. Qin Fengyang took out his phone and sent out 2 messages. On the other side, Sister Lan and Luo Lai silently rose from the second high school's campus and rushed into the clouds. Like lightning, they dashed out of the city. On the other side, Qin Fengyang grabbed Zhuoxiaoduo's neck and flew away like lightning. Zhuoxiaonian hurriedly chased after him. Master Qin, can't you grab his collar? At least it will make you feel better. He actually grabbed a dog's neck. That's too uncomfortable, isn't it? However, Qin Fengyang's speed was so fast that he ignored her. He still grabbed Zhuoxiaoduo's neck and disappeared in a flash. Zhuoxiaonian desperately chased after him with the piggy bank. Suddenly a figure flashed. It was Mu Yinyan who came to Zhuoxiaonian's side. She grabbed her shoulder and suddenly sped up. Suddenly, the master and disciple disappeared in mid-air. Zhuoxiaoduo, who was being held by the neck, struggled in the air. He wanted to resist, but he also wanted to beg for mercy. However, the hurricane directly forced all his words back into his stomach. Swishaoduo tactfully shut his mouth and closed his eyes. However, his hair had long been uncontrollably messy and soared into the sky. The flesh on his cheeks trembled as the wind blew against them. If Swishaoduo's current state was to be described with 3 words, it would be suffocating. His 2 arms flailed and his 2 legs kicked. He was like a tortoise that had been caught. He was carried by Qin Fengyang and flew for 300 miles. Bang! The moment the two arrived at the mountain outside the city, Swishaoduo was thrown down. He stood up and fell back down dizzily. He muttered, "I must have done something wrong in my previous life. I can't believe I met such a master in this life. God." Qin Fengyang said angrily, "What nonsense are you talking about? What are you complaining about? As a martial artist, you don't know how to adjust your breathing in the air. You are blown like this by the wind and you still have the face to complain. No matter what the situation is, the rhythm of your breathing can't be messed up. If you can't breathe externally, can't you breathe internally? A martial artist must remember that the threat of life and death is always with you. Only in this way can you ensure that you can adapt to new situations at any time. Look at you, complaining to the heavens and the earth. You are a good for nothing." Swishaoduo's face turned green. He lowered his head obediently and listened to the lecture. He had forgotten just now. After being lectured, he really couldn't refute it. Sister Lan and Luo Lai were already standing in the shadows. When they saw Qin Fengyang and his disciple arrive, they walked out at the same time. "How do we do it? Where do we start? We still have to wait." Swishaoduo looked into the distance. After a while, Mu Yanyan and Swishaoyan's graceful figures appeared in the air like fairies and slowly landed. "Sister Yanyan." Swishaoduo stroked his hair and hurriedly went forward. The 2 mountains and the 2 lakes belong to the heavenly eye in the aura examination technique. Therefore, you, the bearer of the phoenix bloodline, have to do it personally. Place the coin in the deepest part of the spring, and make sure that it won't be shaken by external forces. It has to be firm and firm. There can't be any possibility of it shaking. We're going to open the mountain later. If it shakes, all our previous efforts will be wasted. You have to do it immediately. You can ask Teacher Mu to accompany you. You have to be quick. When you're done, come back here to meet us. Also, don't take out the coin before it enters the water." "Okay, I understand." Swishaoyan memorized Swishaoduo's instructions with a serious expression and repeated them. Mu Yanyan was worried that her disciple was too slow and didn't want to be delayed. She simply grabbed Swishaoyan and flew away. "Teacher Qin, please go to the 2 man-made lakes and confirm the situation of the water inlet and outlet. If you can move it a little." "Okay." Qin Fengyang's work was exceptionally easy. He was also very fast. It only took him a few minutes to fly back on his sword. "I'm done here." "They're not back yet?" "Not yet." "Well, their work is more troublesome, especially to fix the coin. We can't be careless. It's okay if they're a little slow. When they come back, we have to start the follow-up immediately. Try to finish all the work tonight to minimize the possibility of being exposed." Okay. The moonlight tonight was extremely dim. The world was gray and it was almost impossible to see beyond a few steps. Swishaoduo looked at the gray in front of him and suddenly couldn't help but ask himself, "Isn't this too cruel?" But then he made up his mind. To deal with such people, even if it was 10,000 times more cruel, it should be done. If it wasn't cruel enough, how could he completely destroy the enemy? To be kind to the enemy was to be cruel to himself and to everyone on his side. After less than a quarter of an hour, Mu Yanyan flew back with Swishaoyan. "The coin at the bottom of the lake has been placed properly. Now we can start the follow-up. Teacher Qin, please team up with Aunt Lan. It's yin and yang. Well, I'll be there too. I'll command on the spot. Teacher Luo, Teacher Mu, and Sister Yanyan, please go to the west and act according to the plan." Okay. Mu Yanyan, Luo Lai, and Swishaoyan flew away together. Qin Fengyang and Sister Lan grabbed Swishaoduo and left together. Both of them felt a little strange. "You're commanding on the spot? Damn it, you're commanding us. So this guy isn't ready to work at all?" So the hurricane infusion state was started again. This time Zhuo Duo had learned his lesson. He shut his mouth and eyes tightly and activated his internal circulation. He only felt a wave of cool air pouring down from the top of his head, and a wave of burning air surging up from the bottom of his feet. Above it was the Ren meridian, below it was the Du meridian, and gradually merged up and down at the tailbone. That suddenly Qin Fangyang, who was grabbing his neck, was shocked and stopped moving at high speed. Chapter 176. Sister Lan did not know what was going on and instinctively stopped as well. Qin Fangyang slapped Zhuo face and woke him up from his meditation. His voice was filled with fear as he said, "What time is this? You're not allowed to break through." Zhuo Duo felt his head buzzing. His surging primordial qi, which was in urgent need of an outlet, suddenly dissipated and calmed down. Sister Lan asked in surprise, "Breakthrough? Just now?" Qin Fangyang was speechless. "I don't know what kind of freak this kid is. I held him by the neck and he almost broke through the bottleneck of the innate stage." The muscles on Sister Lan's face twitched. This kid is so talented? Even if he has reached the peak of martial master, but it's great that he can break through in such a special environment. Qin Fangyang was still a little angry. "Fortunately, I discovered it early. If I let him break through like this, there would be a lot of trouble in the future." Sister Lan was also an expert in cultivation. She agreed. Yes, if he broke through in such a situation, there would be a lot of trouble in the future. Zhuo Duo was confused. "Isn't it a good thing to break through? Why do you two look like it's the end of the world? Why is there a lot of trouble? We'll talk about this in class tomorrow. Your cultivation progress is so fast that you don't know much about the basics of cultivation. Now control yourself. No matter what, you can't break through the bottleneck. Do you understand?" Qin Fangyang warned sternly. Understood. Although Zhuo Duo said that he understood, he really didn't understand what was going on just now. However, after being interrupted by Qin Fangyang, he couldn't find that strange feeling anymore. Even if he wanted to break through again, it would be impossible for him. However, Qin Fangyang did not dare to hold him by the neck again. If this kid did it again, it would be difficult to stop him. He turned around and held his arm. He even used some of his primordial qi to help him block the wind, forming an air shield as they flew. Zhuo Duo suddenly received preferential treatment and was actually somewhat overwhelmed by the favor. It was so comfortable. Moments later, the three of them arrived at the peak of the eastern mountain. Carefree Peak, also known as Carefree Slope, was the location of the phoenix's right wing as seen by the aura examination technique. At the top of the mountain there was a crystal-clear lake. On the far right was a dam, while on the left was a natural mountain that blocked the flow of the lake water, causing the water to flow east along the dam. At the foot of this mountain was the Wuxia River. The water flowed slowly into a canyon and gradually disappeared. On the other side of the canyon was the surging Azure Billow River. The Wuxia River protruded from a part of the canyon, transforming into a waterfall that converged with the Kanglin River. Zhuo Duo pointed at the canyon and said, "Later we have to block that side and block the flow of the water. Then we have to raise the dam on the opposite side of the lake and move part of the mountain range over there. This will make the lake water rush down from here and rush to the west. It will drive the water flow and cause it to reverse direction. The banks on both sides of the river have to be raised to a certain height. Raise it to the point where the water can flow against the current, and it won't be destroyed no matter how heavy the rain." Sister Lan sighed. "So you want me to be your coolie?" Qin Fangyang's eyebrows twitched. Last night, when he heard Zhuo Duo talking about it, he felt that it was extremely easy. But now that he was on the ground, he realized that it was a huge project when he actually did it. "Let me test the situation on the other side of the canyon first." Qin Fangyang flew up. In the air, his whole body suddenly burst out with dazzling sword light and slowly descended. The moment he landed, his 2 feet stepped on the rocks of the canyon, giving off a feeling that the whole sky was pressing down on them. Endless mighty power was slowly released from his feet. The bottom of the canyon under his feet constantly emitted cracking sounds. In less than the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Under Zhuo's dumbfounded gaze, the entire canyon actually collapsed. With a loud bang, the water stirred up waves of thousands of feet high. Sister Lan, who had wanted to help, had a look of admiration in her eyes. Not bad, not bad. Qin Fengyang's brain is quite good. He just channeled his power down and used his yin force to completely crush the rocks directly below. Once enough is destroyed, he will press down heavily. Naturally, it will not be able to withstand the weight above, and it will collapse on its own. This way, he can perfectly block the exit of the water. Qin Fengyang followed the same pattern and lowered the mountains on both sides neatly by 7 to 8 meters. Wuxia River, which was slowly approaching, gradually lost its way. The river water began to accumulate, and the water level kept rising. It's my turn. Sister Lan flew up, her sleeves fluttering. In a flash, she had already reached the mountain on this side. Her sword light flashed continuously, connecting into one. Then, with a soft shout from Sister Lan, a mountain that was at least a few 100,000 pounds had already left its original position. Sister Lan carried it along the shore of the lake to the opposite side, and then casually threw it into the lake beside the dam on the other side. Boom! The water rushed up to the sky. Shuo Duo watched until his neck stretched out, and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. From here to the other side it was a few dozen miles. Sister Lan went over just like that, as if she was dancing. When he proposed this idea, Shuo Duo was actually not very confident. Saying that it would be completed in one night was just the most optimistic scenario. There was a 99% chance that it would be impossible. The reason was very simple. The project was really too big. At least in Shuo's knowledge, it was moving mountains and filling the sea. However, he did not say it out loud. He was afraid that it would be too big a project and cause everyone's enthusiasm to diminish. He planned to take it one step at a time and see how far he could go. But now it seemed that this project, which was as difficult as ascending to the heavens, was not easy in the hands of Qin Fengyang and Sister Lan, but really, it was not difficult at all. After Qin Fengyang blocked the river, he also started to move the mountain. His method was more meticulous. He turned the mountain rocks into pieces, and in the process of moving them, he gradually increased the height of the canyon and the topography of both sides of the river. Sister Lan was also constantly moving the rocks from this side to the other side. Shuo Duo stared blankly at them. The two of them moved the mountain back and forth, but it did not affect the native vegetation on the mountain. Whether it was sand, soil, trees, or grass, all of them were moved over in perfect condition. The mountain, which was made up of many broken rocks, was a complete, square rock in the hands of the two of them. Well, anyway, looking at the two of them, it was more like tofu. The mountain, which was almost 2,000 meters high, was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a while, when Sister Lan and Qin Fengyang moved two relatively large rocks at the same time. Boom! The water of the heavenly jewel lake finally began to pour down from the gap that appeared on this side. At this moment, Shuo Duo clearly saw the two of them turn their heads to look at him. It won't work. It's not enough. Shuo Duo hurriedly shouted. It has been raining heavily for the past 2 days. The lake water has accumulated a lot more than usual. Now we need to calculate the water level according to the usual water level. No matter what, we have to go down another 7 or 8 meters. 7 or 8 meters. Qin Fengyang and Sister Lan both rolled their eyes. That's just one more rock each. What's the point? As the last rock was moved away, the water of the heavenly jewel lake gushed down and converged into the Wuxia River. The water of the Wuxia River had already accumulated to a certain height. With the gushing of the water, it immediately reversed direction and started to flow back. Now what we need to do is to continue to raise the river bank. I didn't expect the water to accumulate to such a height. If the dam bursts from here, the other side will suffer. Qin Fengyang rubbed his chin and looked at it for a while. Then, he began to move the rocks down from the mountain nearby. Try your best to erase all traces so that our actions won't be discovered by others as much as possible. Of course, it's best if we don't get discovered by others. Shuo Duo reminded him of the principle of perfection. No problem. Sister Lan and Qin Fengyang agreed at the same time. Then the two of them got busy again. Another hour passed. Finally, the two of them straightened their backs, sweating profusely and panting. Although the two of them were great grandmasters, they had been moving mountains and filling seas for so long. Furthermore, they had to be meticulous and careful at every step. They were afraid that they would accidentally cause the dam to collapse. It would be a lie to say that they weren't tired. What was more tiring was their mental energy. The two of them had put in more mental energy than physical energy. It was not inferior to the exhaustion of a huge battle. However, the effect was very obvious. It was immediate and clear at a glance. As the lake water continued to pour down, the Wuxia River indeed flowed in the opposite direction as Wuxiaoduo had said. The river water flowed leisurely and surged forward. Moreover, it felt very natural and there was no obstruction at all. The work here is done. Wuxiaoduo said, next we will follow the Wuxia River and head west. Along the way we will take care of whatever we can. All right. Qin Fengyang and Sister Lan agreed verbally. However, in their hearts they had the urge to roll their eyes. This brat really had an evil landlord's temper. He had just finished such heavy work and he didn't even say a word about taking a break. He was desperately squeezing the labor force. Wuxiaoduo obviously didn't know what the two of them were thinking. If he knew, he would definitely say that he was wronged. Both of you looked more relaxed than the other. I thought you weren't tired at all. The two of them sprinted along the way. This time they were purely relying on Wuxiaoduo's speed. The faster he ran, the closer Qin Fengyang and Sister Lan followed. Even though Wuxiaoduo had been sprinting all the way and was so tired that he stuck his tongue out, he couldn't leave the two of them even half a step behind. They ran like this for a full 70 to 80 miles. Only then did they see the scene of the rivers from the east and west colliding with each other. However, the river water from the west had obviously weakened a lot. It seemed that the Lingzhu Lake in the west had also begun to take effect. As time went on, the river water from the east gradually showed an effortless momentum, driving the river water from the west all the way back. It was unstoppable and unstoppable. It's very much like two armies facing each other. One side is strong, the other side is weak. It gradually evolved into a crushing situation. Qin Fengyang's eyes revealed a look of reminiscence. Begging for monthly votes, subscription, recommendation votes. Oh my god, why is this new month so long? I'm so tired. Chapter 177. The three of them followed the river all the way to the west. Along the way, Qin Fengyang and Sister Lan quickly cleared out the higher terrains and leveled them up. The water flowed all the way forward. At this time the sky was already showing signs of light. It's 4:20 in the morning. Wuxiaoduo looked at the time. We have to speed up. We can definitely finish it quickly. At most we'll reach Phoenix Ridge in another 50 miles. There won't be a problem. Qin Fengyang looked at the mountain in the distance and made a rough estimation. As they were talking, there was a rumbling sound in front of them. Mu Yanyan and the others had also finished the transformation, and were coming along the riverbank to deal with the obstructed areas. Qin Fengyang smiled and sped up again. After about 15 minutes, the two sides met. Done. Done. What about your side? Naturally, it's also done. There were 6 people on both sides. Except for Wuxiaoduo, the other 5 were all very tired. But they all forced themselves to pretend that they were not tired at all. Let's go to Lingzhu Lake and see if there are any flaws, Wuxiaoduo suggested. At Lingzhu Lake, Wuxiaoduo carefully observed the landscape here. Because of Mu Yanyan and Xiaonian's meticulousness, the traces were cleaned up more naturally than the other side. The rolling river water flowed through the big hole under Phoenix Ridge and flowed into the Hanshui River. Everything was done without a trace. If it weren't for the preconceived idea, even Wuxiaoduo wouldn't be able to see that there was a reversal of the universe here. Luo Lai wiped the sweat on his face and grimaced. I didn't expect that I would have the chance to be a pangolin in my life. The whole 30-mile-long tunnel through the mountains and water was all opened by me alone. I have never done such a laborious work in my life. Old Qin, you have to treat me to a good drink and a good meal tomorrow. No problem, no problem. Qin Fengyang agreed. Everyone will go. I'll take care of the celebration feast. I won't be going. Sis Lan hesitated for a moment and said, I still have to take care of the former principal. Qin Fengyang's intentions were somewhat impure to begin with. He hurriedly advised, Sister Lan, we've accomplished great things here. How can we not celebrate? Invite the old principal along. Sister Lan snorted and said, Who is the old principal? Drink with you guys. What are you thinking? Qin Fengyang was a little disheartened. We'll talk about tomorrow's matters tomorrow. Zhou Xiaoduo was very anxious. I wonder if anyone still has the energy to send Sister Nian Nian back quickly. We must put the piggy bank away before the sun rises. Zhou Xiaoduo really didn't expect that this huge project would be completed overnight. The Zhou Xiaonian part of the whole plan was actually a flaw that wasn't really a flaw. With Zhou Xiaonian's current state, she might not be able to return home in time with her own strength. Mu Yan said, I'll go. Be sure to put it under the bed directly under the pillow. Seal it well and don't move it. We'll use the same method of placing it. Be careful. Zhou Xiaoduo was still worried and reminded her again. There was a flash of sword light. Mu Yanyan had already grabbed Zhou Xiaoduo with her left hand, and Zhou Xiaonian with her right hand and disappeared into the night sky. Since you're so worried, let's go together. Sister Lan looked in the direction Mu Yanyan left and said, Flying 1,000 swords. Qin Fengyang, you're in this realm now, right? Qin Fengyang said, Why? A breakthrough is right in front of you. Sister Lan said lightly, Qin Fengyang, you have to hurry. I don't know what your plans are after you break through. Qin Fengyang was silent for a moment and said, I can break through at any time. I must find Qianqian first before I do anything. Sister Lan sighed and said softly, Qin Fengyang. It's better not to see her. Qin Fengyang said nothing. Sister Lan said lightly, according to what you said, I'm afraid your wife is no longer in this world. Why bother to look for someone who doesn't exist and waste such a good time? Qin Fengyang also said lightly, No, she must still be here. If she's no longer here, I will sense it. Sister Lan sighed faintly, Even if you find her, she has no cultivation and can't continue to absorb spiritual energy. The best case scenario is that she's just an old woman with wrinkled skin and white hair. What's the point? Qin Fengyang took a long breath and said, You mean you want me to let it go now? Then, he would find a new cultivator as his partner and live in harmony with the zither? Never find Qianqian again? He abruptly turned his head and stared intently at Sister Lan. The woman who gave up everything for me, her youth, her feelings, her love, her future, her aptitude, her life. Let her quietly die in a place that I don't even know about? Is that what you mean? Perhaps many years later, when I break through the cloud transformation realm, my lifespan will be longer, and I'll laugh proudly in the world with my immortal partner. Then, I'll forget that poor woman who's already under a pile of yellow soil forever? At that time, I'll live until my lifespan is so long that I can't even remember her? To the point where I can't even remember her name and her face. Qin Fengyang stood alone as he looked at the night sky that had already begun to change slightly. He gently exhaled as if he had exhaled decades of yearning in one breath. He softly said, Is that so? Shda. Sister Lan couldn't help but be speechless. Qin Fengyang laughed self-deprecatingly. Now it's my turn to ask you. If I do that, what's the point of everything Qianqian has done for me? What's worth it in the world? She gave up everything just to save a heartless man? Did she lose out? Qin Fengyang turned his head and looked at Sister Lan with a sharp gaze. What do you think? Sister Lan sighed softly and turned her head to avoid Qin Fengyang's gaze. She said faintly, Women can be so silly sometimes. Maybe she'd rather you forget her completely and not remember her at all. That's right. That's why she's worth remembering. She's worth me spending the rest of my life to find her. Qin Fengyang's emotions slowly became agitated. He said, I want to tell her. Tell her. Her love back then was not given to the wrong person. Tell her. Her sacrifice back then was not in vain. Tell her. The person she sacrificed everything to protect back then was not a heartless man. Even if she died immediately when I saw her, she should have left with satisfaction and not with regret. Even if she closed her eyes, she would still be worried about me and worry about my future. She would not have left alone with nothing. Because when she closed her eyes, what she took away was the love that she had no regrets in her life. If I can't even give her this, then am I, Qin Fengyang, still a man? Am I still a man? All of you want to fulfill her wish and want to fulfill her wish. But why doesn't anyone think of fulfilling my wish? Qin Fengyang roared angrily. Have you ever thought about it? Are you really doing her a favor by helping her like this? Can't you see how cruel this is to her? Sister Lan was speechless. Luo Lai was also speechless. As Qin Fengyang's close friend, he obviously knew about Qin Fengyang's past. At this moment, there was only Qin Fangyang's heavy breathing in the air. Every breath was mixed with a kind of exhaustion and helplessness. That was knowing that there was a road ahead, but not daring to take a step forward. Heartbroken as he watched the most important person in his life slowly wither away. That kind of heartbroken calmness. That kind of heart-wrenching waiting. But he couldn't say a single word and he couldn't change his gaze. Beside him, the sound of flowing water from the Wuxia River could be heard. Qin Fangyang looked at the river flowing happily to the west with envy. Many years later, the flowing water here would still be so cheerful and smooth, and it would still make the same sound. But the person I love would already be gone by then. I still know that she is still alive. But by then it would be hard for me to even have the chance to suffer like today. At this moment the east slowly brightened up. A red sun suddenly protruded from the horizon, emitting thousands of rays of golden light. The mountains and rivers were dyed with a layer of brilliant gold. Let's go back. Qin Fangyang lowered his head and moved his feet mechanically. Like a walking corpse, he staggered towards the direction of Phoenix City. Sister Lan looked at Qin Fangyang's back and inexplicably felt Qin Fangyang's extreme sorrow. The morning sun revived all living things, making everything bright and beautiful. However, Qin Fangyang, who was walking towards the sun, looked like a zombie that had decayed for tens of thousands of years. He could fall to the ground at any time and turn into dust with a snap of a finger. Sigh. Sister Lan sighed. Luo Lai, who was at the side, said softly, "Old Qin is really not having it easy. We should also help him find his wife. I hope that the heavens will not be so cruel to let this pair of lovers be unable to meet even in death." Sister Lan glanced at Luo Lai and did not speak for a long time. She let out a sigh. Sister Lan really did not know what to do about this matter. She knew about Qin Fangyang's persistence, but she also knew about He Yuanyue's temper. If the two of them really acknowledged each other, then He Yuanyue would probably leave that night. Because she knew that her life was the biggest burden to Qin Fangyang. As long as she was still around, Qin Fangyang would definitely not let go of her to find his own happiness. Therefore, He Yuanyue would not allow this to happen. She would rather die silently. Everything would be over once she died. You know that I am no longer around, so you should give up. With your character, ability and cultivation, there will naturally be many times more outstanding than me. Beautiful women who can cultivate and accompany you for a long time will appear. They will discover your good points and accompany you, making you happy for the rest of your life. However, Sister Lan realized that Qin Fangyang was on the other extreme. Similarly, everything would be over once she died. When Qianqian died, Qin Fangyang's heart would also die. Everything would be over. There was only one person in her heart. There was also only one person in his heart. Chapter 178. Ask the world, what is love? Sister Lan looked at the rising sun and sighed softly. For a moment her heart was in a mess. From Qin Fangyang's words, Sister Lan could tell that Qin Fangyang already knew something. This was inevitable. Otherwise he would not be so angry. You all want to help her. But why didn't anyone help me? This sentence was very obvious. Qin Fangyang is not stupid. No wonder Qin Fangyang had so many things to do with the old principal. He often went to He Yuanyue's office, and everything was so natural. Qin Fangyang was such an iron-blooded man. It was really hard for him to think of these reasons every day. Sister Lan sighed in her heart. But what should we do about this? Sister Lan absolutely did not dare to tell He Yuanyue what Qin Fangyang had already guessed. This was a bomb. It would immediately blow He Yuanyue to smithereens. Go back and rest. Sister Lan sighed and hurriedly flew away. Luo Lai naturally felt that Qin Fangyang and Sister Lan's emotions were very strange. He could not help but have doubts in his heart. Could it be that Sister Lan is the wife that old Qin has been looking for? After so many years she has a new lover and does not want to acknowledge him? But I don't see Sister Lan's new lover. Old Luo scratched his head. He only felt that these boring things between men and women were really too tiring. It's better to be a single dog like me. I don't have the burden of a family and have no worries. Luo Lai shook his head. What love? So boring. He flew away. Mu Yinyan grabbed the siblings and rushed into Zhuo Xiaonian's boudoir through the window like a rainbow. Duo looked over. There it is. Put it down quickly. Xiaonian hurriedly placed the piggy bank in the hidden compartment that had been prepared earlier under the bed and fixed it firmly. Although it was only a moment, the three of them were so nervous that they were sweating. As the saying goes, one should not fail at the last step. If there was a mistake at this last step, they really did not know how to cry. All right. Duo wiped his sweat and sat down on the ground as if he had collapsed. He murmured, "How would I know that you guys are so capable? I originally planned to finish all this work in 3 nights. But in the end it was done in 1 night. Way beyond the budget, way beyond the budget." Mu Yinyan snorted and said, "This is a matter of life and death. How can it be delayed? Naturally, it has to be done as quickly as possible." Xiaonian also sat down. This night, she was the weakest among the 6 people who worked hard. She was also worried about where every coin fell, so she was really tired. Mu Yinyan frowned and paced around the room. She was still a little worried. "Duo, will your arrangement really work?" Duo closed his eyes and pondered. He deduced from the first step all the way to the last step. After a long while, he opened his eyes and said faintly, "There's no mistake at all. As long as the aura examination technique is real, then my setup will definitely work." Mu Yinyan rolled her eyes. Of course the aura examination technique is real. Hearing Xiaoduo's words, Mu Yinyan could not help but breathe a sigh of relief, but at the same time she felt even more tired. She simply sat down on Xiaonian's bed and said, "Last night, Qin Fengyang used the method you taught him. How was it? Teacher Qin has made a huge fortune this time. But he's not willing to give me a single cent." Duo looked heartbroken. He wanted to donate it all. Alas, he's really a spendthrift. No wonder he wanted to take back the 2 low-grade jade of astral souls that day. He's really a miser. Mu Yinyan was silent for a moment and said, "Teacher Qin is really selfless. Duo, it's your blessing to have such a teacher. You must cherish it and study hard." "Well, I know. I'm just saying. You guys have a rest. I'll go back now." Mu Yinyan stood up and said softly, "Lingyan, don't go out today. Have a good rest at home and recover your vitality as soon as possible." "Okay." Xiaonian agreed softly. The curtains moved slightly, and Mu Yinyan disappeared without a trace. At this moment, the sun had come out, shining on the universe and all living beings. "Dog, why don't you go back to rest? Are you going to school today?" Xiaonian leaned on the bed lazily. Her beautiful curves were fully exposed. Duo swallowed his saliva and stared straight ahead. "I want to study, study. Study hard." He was staring at her and did not even know what he was talking about. "Dog." Xiaonian pouted. "What are you looking at?" Although she pouted, her posture did not change at all. However, Duo was frightened by her roar. He thought that Xiaonian was really angry. He jumped up and said in a panic, "Then I'd better go back and rest. I have to go to school later." With a whoosh, he ran away with his tail between his legs. "How dare you? I didn't chase you away. Do you have to be so scared?" Xiaonian pouted. Her delicate body lay on the bed weakly. "I'm so tired." She finally fell asleep. Duo returned to his room in a flash, but he did not rest. The first thing he did was to find a map of Phoenix City. He studied the map carefully, took out a pen, and drew a circle around the Meng's headquarters and the artificial lake of the Meng's group. After pondering for a moment, he drew a circle on the Ning family's ancestral grave and another circle on the Ning family's artificial lake. Then, he connected the 4 circles together, forming a rhombus-shaped quadrilateral. After a pause, Duo drew a circle on the spiritual pearl lake and the heavenly pearl lake respectively. He then drew 2 straight lines from the 2 lakes. There were 2 perfectly straight lines between the 2 lakes. The source of the 2 lakes was the heavenly pearl lake, which ran all the way to the top of the Meng clan's headquarters, and then ran all the way to the Ning clan's ancestral tombs in the other corner. The other source of the spirit pearl lake ran all the way to the artificial lake for drinking water of the Meng clan, and then the artificial lake for drinking water of the Ning clan. As the 2 lines continued to extend, they finally met. Duo had drawn a circle on the intersection, which was Fengwu's residential area. Another straight line along the Wenshui River connected the heavenly jewel lake and the spiritual jewel lake, as if everything was sealed within. The enclosed space formed by these 3 lines coincidentally formed an equilateral triangle. The 2 corners of the triangle were the heavenly Pearl Lake and the spiritual Pearl Lake. The intersection of the 3rd corner was Feng Wu's residential area, where Zhou Xiaoduo and Zhou Xiaonian lived. After the intersection, the 3 lines extended endlessly. There seemed to be no end to them. After repeated checking, there was no mistake. Zhou Xiaoduo was finally relieved. Looking at the time, it was already past 5. He decided not to rest. He would eat and go to school. That night, Zhang Zhongbin was not idle either. He appeared in front of the headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Fenghai City. However, Zhang Zhongbin was no longer as arrogant and high-spirited as he used to be. He could only sit on the ground dejectedly. He went in to report to the director, explained the situation in Phoenix City, and asked for backup. He even directly asked for the Dragon Blood team, but the director did not agree. Zhang Zhongbin begged and insisted. The director lost his patience and told him to get lost. Zhang Zhongbin did not leave. He grabbed the director's clothes and asked, "Why not? Give me a reason first." The director was furious. "The entire Central Plains needs the Dragon Blood team. You want to give them to us? Then the Dragon Blood team will be exhausted. But I have something important to do. It concerns the safety of the astral souls." Zhang Zhongbin would not let him off. "What can happen to you? It's just Phoenix City, a tiny place with a population of less than 3 million. What kind of big thing could happen?" The director was also angry. If the UMNO Alliance wants to cause trouble, they can go anywhere. Why do they have to go to your small place? Soul transformation cultivators are everywhere, and their core essence is inferior to dogs. Why don't you say it's as important as the Sun-Moon Pass in the capital? Based on what you've said, even if it was in the capital, it would cause a storm. Why would they gather in Phoenix City? The director's face was full of distrust. "Zhang Zhongbin, I can see that you are anxious. I also promised to send you 2 people, but why do you have to ask for the Dragon Blood team? I have something important to do. Even if the Dragon Blood team goes, they may not be able to solve it." Zhang Zhongbin was anxious because he realized that the director was leaving. "If you don't send me people, if you don't send me the Dragon Blood team, then you can dismiss me today. Anyway, I can't bear the responsibility if there is any." Zhang Zhongbin acted shamelessly. The director was so angry that his face turned green. "You think I don't dare to dismiss you? Then please remove me from my position as soon as possible." Zhang Zhongbin did not give in. "I've done my best. Fortunately, I'm not going to be an official today. Otherwise, I'll be blamed. I'm not a scapegoat. Who are you calling me a scapegoat?" The director was furious. "Scapegoat? Are you threatening me? So what if I'm threatening you?" Zhang Zhongbin was not stingy. "Anyway, I want the Dragon Blood team and I want at least 4 people. You can either give me people or dismiss me. It's up to you. Shame on your mother." The director was so angry that he cursed. "Is this the attitude you should have when talking to your superior? You've already done it once." Zhang Zhongbin jumped up, his face full of anger. "You fucking ran away after having sex and left us in Phoenix City. You fucking forgot all about it. You didn't ask about us for more than 20 years. If it weren't for Teacher He's help, my mother and I would have starved to death. So what if it's a small place? Without this small place, there wouldn't be us. You fucking still have the face to say that you've shamed my mother? How many more times do you want to throw her away?" Zhang Zhongbin shouted. The director was embarrassed. "Can you fucking keep your voice down?" Zhang Zhongbin was furious and raised his voice. "I want to be loud. I'm not fucking afraid of being embarrassed. Why are you scared? Are you afraid of being embarrassed? Aren't you very impressive? Why are you afraid of being embarrassed now?" Chapter 179. The director was so angry that his veins were popping. "Let me tell you, the Dragon Blood team is not a child's toy. Don't pester me endlessly. It's not about the Dragon Blood team anymore. It's about you losing my mother." Zhang Zhongbin was fuming. "Give me an explanation. What happened? How did you lose her?" The director's bald head was red with anger, and steam was coming out of it. On Zhang Zhongbin's side, 80% of his bald head was also red and steaming. The two of them glared at each other like fighting cocks. Fuck you. The director exploded and slammed the table. Back then, I went straight to the Sun Moon Pass to participate in the war. I haven't returned to the mainland for 16 years. How many times have I explained this to you and your mother? Are you deaf? Are you stupid? Don't you know how to investigate? Do you think I didn't investigate? You did go to the Sun Moon Pass to fight, and that's indeed a powerful reason. But what about 16 years later? What did you do? He married the daughter of a great general over there, and completely ignored his lover back then, didn't he? What other reasons do you have? Are you powerful enough? Are you persuasive? Zhang Zhongbin also flew into a rage. Are you still a human? Do you know how to write the word human? Smack! A slap landed on Zhang Zhongbin's face. Zhang Zhongbin was stunned and suddenly fell to the floor of the office, foaming at the mouth and convulsing. You hit me, don't you know I have epilepsy? Let me tell you, Zhang Dagui, I'll blame you to death today. Someone come quickly. The director is so angry that he hit his illegitimate son in his office that he has epilepsy. The director was furious, but he didn't dare to let him scream. He directly covered his mouth. What are you shouting for? Don't shout. Why are you shouting about such a trivial matter? Even if you don't want your face, I still want it. Ooh. Zhang Zhongbin struggled and suddenly opened his mouth to bite. His teeth were sharp. Fuck you. The director quickly let go. Zhang Zhongbin squatted on the ground and panted. Tell me, are you going to send him to me? The director scratched his head and looked like he had a headache. You fucking use this trick at the most critical moment. I've already explained the matter about your mother many times. You've also used this to get a lot of things from me. But you can't use this as an excuse every time. Do you understand? It's not like you don't understand. It's like this every time. After all, I'm the director. Binner. Bullshit, general director. You're just a beast in human clothing and a scum of the society. I'm a branch director. Zhang Zhongbin mumbled, am I shameless? The problem now is that every time I don't mention this, you won't do anything. What can I do? This isn't a one-trick pony. It's the only trick that works on you. Why wouldn't I use it? The head of the bureau looked like he was about to vomit blood. This was truly 8 lifetimes of bad luck. Back then, because he was about to leave, he went to the front lines. He didn't know if he would be able to return. He met a young girl by chance, and then he said that going to the front lines was very depressing. After that, he drank some wine. After that, he did it in a muddle-headed manner. After 16 years, he had really forgotten about this matter. He changed his job and found a wife. Who would have thought that his marksmanship back then was so good that this thing suddenly appeared out of nowhere? There was no need for a paternity test. One look at the characteristic of the young man's balding head, and he knew that he was his son. He couldn't deny it even if he wanted to. Besides, the old principal treated me so well. After so many years, you guys didn't even care about the things that I reported so many times. I'm embarrassed to say that you're my father in front of her. Although it's a cheap father. What do you mean by cheap father? The head of the bureau was very angry. I'm a biological father. Isn't a cheap father? Is there something expensive? Cheap or expensive? Do you think I'm buying leaks? And that Phoenix City's Phoenix vein? The king of the Central Plains has already sent people over. And he said no. Do you think I'm a high-ranking official? Do you think I dare to go against the king of the Central Plains' decision? Do you think your old principal is a god? Whatever she says goes. I can't do it. I don't have that kind of trust. Can't you think for me? Other than making a scene, what else do you know? The head of the bureau was very melancholy. Your mother only knows how to cry, and you only know how to make a scene. Let me tell you, Zhang Zhongbin, my pants were too loose back then. Bullshit. Zhang Zhongbin exploded. Wasn't my mother a virgin back then? Didn't she go to the front lines because of you? You're crying in front of her because you haven't touched a woman yet. Back then, you were crying in front of a woman and said that you were still a virgin even though you were dozens of years old. Why don't you talk about how promising you are? My mother had me back then. You left and didn't come back. Who knows where you were buried? Haven't you thought about how difficult it was for a young lady like her to raise a child? Didn't she bear to kill him because he might be the only descendant of a hero on the front lines? Do you think it's so difficult to hit a child in this society? If my mother had been more ruthless and hit me, nothing would have happened. She would have been living a stable life long ago. She didn't want to marry you and raise your child for the rest of her life. She waited for you to come back. You're a fucking rich and full of glory, but you've forgotten about her. It wasn't easy for you to see me. If you have a conscience, you should acknowledge me. Did my mother pester you? If she made a fuss, you'd be committing bigamy. She's been staying in Phoenix City all this time. How dare you say that about her? Tell me, are you even human? What did you say about your pants being loose? How do you have the guts to say that? Zhang Zhongbin shouted, Zhang Dagui, are you still human? Tell me, are you still a human? The head of the bureau was in a mess. He used a tissue to wipe his face, but it wasn't sweat. It was all Zhang Zhongbin's saliva. Luckily, he changed his name after he made a contribution. Now the entire bureau knew that he was called Zhang Wenzhou and not Zhang Dagui. Otherwise, he would have been thrown out of the international scene. Can you keep your voice down? Bureau Chief Zhang Wenzhou was also very annoyed. This time, when he saw that this kid was willing to come to see him, the fatherly love that he owed him for many years suddenly surged up. He planned to satisfy him this time. In the end, he might as well not see him. He wanted the Dragon Blood team the moment he came. Did he think the Dragon Blood team was cabbage? And the biggest problem now was that he really couldn't spare any manpower. Do you have to ask for the Dragon Blood team? Director Zhang pinched his nose. Yes. Then wait here. I'll see if there's anyone left in the Dragon Blood team. Zhang Wenzhou sighed and went out. Zhang Zhongbin waited in the office. Suddenly, a few people came in and asked him to wait in the hall. Zhang Zhongbin thought about it. There were too many secrets in the director's office. It was normal, so he went to the hall. Then the director didn't appear. Then Starshield got off work. Off work. Zhang Zhongbin was naturally kicked out of the door. When he called again, he realized that he couldn't get through. Sorry, the number you have dialed is turned off. Zhang Zhongbin, who came to his senses, squatted at the door of Starshield dejectedly. Fuck, I was actually made by such a thing. What director? Bah. He ran away and hid like a rabbit when he encountered trouble. He was irresponsible at all. Just look at what happened today. Isn't it similar to the time when you abandoned my mother? Back then he could abandon his wife. Of course he could betray his son now. Fucking Zhang Dagui. Seeing that night was coming, Zhang Zhongbin felt hungry, anxious and angry. Finally he made up his mind. Fuck, isn't it just embarrassing? If you're not afraid, why should I be afraid? All of a sudden Zhang Zhongbin raised his head and let out a long howl. As the director of Starshield, his cultivation was naturally not weak. At this moment, he suddenly roared into the sky in the busy city. It was deafening and could be heard by tens of thousands of people. Everyone subconsciously looked in the direction of the sound. This bald fatty had such a loud voice. What was he trying to do? Seeing that the response was good, Zhang Zhongbin decided to go all out. He jumped and came to the side of the loudspeaker for square dancing. He picked it up and flew directly to the flagpole of Starshield. Standing on the flagpole with one leg, he looked mighty and majestic. He shouted, "Everyone look carefully. Today, I'll perform a striptease for everyone. I'll be dancing on this flagpole. Can you see it clearly?" Hearing such an explosive announcement, the crowd below immediately exploded. What did this person say? He was going to do a striptease in the center of the busy city? Fuck, did it have to be so exciting? Yes, we can see it clearly. Tens of thousands of people shouted. Hurry up and dance. Although you're a man and a fatty, I still want to see it. It's a waste not to see it. How far do you want to strip, fatty? Zhang Zhongbin roared into the sky. Strip until you're completely naked. After that, you'll have to dance for 3 more hours. Don't miss it. Everyone, give me a round of applause. Come, give me a few monthly votes. Give me a few whistles. Suddenly, there were howls and whistles that could break through the sky. Oh, come and see. I'm going to be shameless today. Roar. Before I dance, let me introduce myself. My surname is Zhang. Zhang Zhongbin shouted with the chi in his dantian. Standing on the flagpole, he proudly introduced himself. Do you know that I'm an illegitimate child? But do you know who my father is? The The crowd below was extremely cooperative. Who's your father, fatty? My father is. Whoosh. In the night sky, two silhouettes swept over like lightning. Their movements were extremely fast, and they didn't give Zhang Zhongbin any time to speak. One of them hurriedly attacked and knocked Zhang Zhongbin unconscious. The other person shook his hand and revealed a large sack. He covered Zhang Zhongbin and carried him away. In an instant they disappeared into the sky. As expected, the sound system on the flagpole fell down with a clang. Luckily it did not hit anyone. The crowd was in an uproar. They were about to reach the climax. Why was he gone? What kind of situation was this? Kidnapping an innocent man in broad daylight. Wasn't this too arrogant? Fatty! Countless people shouted together. Come back and dance. Are you still not coming back? Chapter 180. In a secret office. Zhang Wenzhou's white and fat face had completely turned purple. Even in Sichuan opera, it was rare to see such a color. Zhang Zhongbin was still half covered in a gunny sack. Only his chest was exposed. The rest of his body was in the gunny sack. Tell me, what do you want to do? Director Zhang was completely helpless. Dance, of course. Dance to take off your clothes, the kind where you're completely naked. Dance your head. Director Zhang flew into a rage. What the hell do you want? I'm the director of the Phoenix City Shield branch. You don't have the right to detain me. It's time to get off work. I'm free to do whatever I want. You don't have any right to say anything. You can send someone to escort me back, but I promise that I'll be back within a day and continue my personal freedom. As long as you don't send people, I will do a striptease. What about it? Isn't it just a face? I am an illegitimate son. What face do I have? Director Zhang's bald head was fuming. He was really fuming. You have guts. How can I compare to you? Zhang Wenzhou was like a trapped beast. After a while, he picked up the phone and made a call. How many people are left in the Dragon Blood team? Just 2 stationed at the headquarters. Send someone over to Phoenix City for me. I have something to do. Director, there are only 2 left. If you send them all out, the headquarters will become an empty city. Send them to empty city too. Director Zhang was furious. If you don't send them, I will send myself out. Okay. Be quick, the faster the better. Yes. Putting down the phone, Director Zhang was dejected. I must have owed you in my past life. Do you still need to use your past life? Zhang Zhongbin straightened his neck. You have owed me too much in this life. I am afraid you will not be able to pay me back in this life. Zhang Wenzhou's whole body was sprawled on the seat. He was speechless. In the end, he was not by his side since he was young. He did not teach this child well. Look. Now what has the old principal taught him? This is a hooligan, a scoundrel. These 2 people are both at the initial stage of the cloud transformation realm. They'll be enough for you to deal with. Zhang Wenzhou said weakly. Stop it when you go back. Don't come to me for no reason. I'll find time to visit your mother. If you dare to laugh again, do you believe that I won't send these 2 people? You're awesome. Your power is overwhelming. Zhang Zhongbin said no more. A wise man submits to circumstances. Chief Zhang admitted that he was a good man. Not long after, someone arrived. One was tall and the other was short. Both were skinny. Director. Yes, that's him, Phoenix City Shield Director Zhang Zhongbin. The 2 of them turned their heads with strange expressions on their faces. Above the 7 emotions. We are all well-informed people, but this is the first time in our lives that we have seen the Director of Star Shield in a sack. This is Han Song and this is Yang Yu. Both of them are your seniors. You must respect them and treat them well. Do you understand? I know. Greetings, seniors. I'll have to trouble the 2 of you in the future. Greetings, Director Zhang. Something special has happened in Phoenix City. I need the 2 of you to help Director Zhang Zhongbin deal with it. When you get there, listen to Director Zhang's arrangements. You can do whatever you want. Yes. Zhang Wenzhou sighed and said, Why aren't you leaving? Do you want me to keep you for dinner? No, I can't afford your food. Zhang Zhongbin exerted his strength and got out of the sack. He even raised his hand to tidy up the remaining 90% of his hair. He looked at Jiang Wenzhou with a sense of superiority, shook his head, and snorted provocatively. Get lost. I'll get lost. Seniors, let's go. There's something big waiting for us over there. Just as he walked out of the office, a cup flew out and the director's angry roar came from inside. Get lost and do your big thing. Don't ever come here again. Bah, who cares about you? Jiang Zhongbin pursed his lips and flew into the sky with the two masters. In mid-air, he thought of something and said loudly, remember to pay attention to the internet. Someone must have filmed what happened tonight. Even if you don't want your face, I still want mine. Get lost. The director's furious voice. Han Song and Yang Yu had a strange look in their eyes. This director Jiang of Star Phoenix City Shield was something. He actually dared to yell at the director like that. Xiao. Jiang Zhongbin flew away. He was in a good mood along the way. He had borrowed people. This time he had 2 more Cloud Transformation Realm Masters to help him. This matter could definitely be done. Early morning. Sister Lan walked into He Yuanyue's office as usual. You're here. He Yuanyue looked up tiredly. What did you do last night? Last night, teacher Qin Fengyang asked me to help him. So I went. Sister Lan did not intend to hide it. Help? He Yuanyue was instantly interested. What help? That's the gist of it. Sister Lan briefly told her what had happened. However, after a few sentences, He Yuanyue suddenly frowned. Wait, what you said just now. Tell me in detail. Sister Lan did not dare to delay and told her everything she knew in detail. However, Sister Lan did not know much about the whole matter. She only knew that after leaving the city, they started to reverse the flow of the Wuxia River. She did not know anything about what happened before that. He Yuanyue frowned and pondered. This is not right. Zhuo Duo used 3 high-level nascent soul experts, 1 at the peak of the Origin Core Realm, and 1 at the Quasi-Earth Origin Core Realm. A lineup of 5 experts, just to reverse the flow of the Wuxia River. This doesn't make sense at all. Reversing the flow of the water at this time is really meaningless and useful. The art of providence needs a subtle process, and what we lack the most now is time. This action is too big, but the effect is next to nothing. He Yuanyue spread out the map of Phoenix City and drew a few lines with her pointer. She muttered, no, this is not right. Does not make sense. It is only reversing the flow of the water of life, but it does not have much effect on the mutual promotion and suppression of the 5 elements. What we should pay more attention to now should be the general trend of the stars. It is only changing the effect of generation and suppression. The two have nothing to do with each other. He Yuanyue frowned and looked at Sister Lan. Sister Lan, did you participate in the whole operation? Sister Lan was stunned for a moment and said no. Oh. I went directly outside the city to wait for the rendezvous. Seems. After we gathered, Mu Yanyan and Zhuo Xiaonian went to do something first. They went to Lingzhu Lake and Tianzhu Lake respectively to put something. He Yuanyue frowned. Put something? Yes. What is it? I don't know. He Yuanyue pondered. It is still not right. The reversal of the Wuxia River between the 2 lakes is limited. He Yuanyue looked at the map. This Wuxia River. No. The 2 artificial lakes in the city center are connected to the Wuxia River. Right? This is the lake of the Meng family and the Ning family, right? It seems so. If that is the case, it is somewhat interesting. Is Xiao Duo's plan to turn back the providence that was taken away? He Yuanyue frowned and thought hard. If this is the operation, it makes sense. It seems that Xiao Duo really studied the providence technique. This action began from the perspective of the Wuxia River, to set up the reversal of the yin-yang situation. Although it is too big and the result is not good, this idea is still good. He Yuanyue was very pleased. But I still have to ask about the specific situation, so as not to make a fool of myself. The 2 families have been in the Phoenix City for a long time. Once there is a mistake, we will be completely exposed and the enemy will be in the light and we will be in the dark. He Yuanyue picked up the phone and called Mu Yanyan. How did you arrange the feng shui situation last night? Mu Yanyan was also confused about the so-called arrangement. She knew nothing about it, just like Sister Lan. When she heard He Yuanyue's question, she simply said, I will go to the 2nd middle school to find you now. This matter can't be explained clearly on the phone. In fact, I wanted to find you. Although Xiao Duo said that this method can reverse Xiaonian's providence, I am still worried. Okay. In less than 2 minutes, Mu Yinyan came to He Yuanyue's office. He Yuanyue was very happy and asked Mu Yinyan, how is it? Xiao Duo said that it is enough to reverse the yin-yang situation. Mu Yinyan said, Xiao Duo said so, but I don't know the specific effect. Then Mu Yinyan told her the whole story from the beginning of the arrangement of the coin on the top of the Meng's group, and then she explained all the arrangements in detail. She was almost involved in the whole process. Although she did not know the reason, she could explain the process. The more Mu Yinyan talked, the more severe the change in He Yuanyue's face. In the end, her face was pale and cold sweat slowly oozed out of her head. When Mu Yinyan finished, she drew a few points on the map of the Phoenix City. She looked at it and confirmed it again and again. Finally, she could not help but sigh. So poisonous. Poisonous. Mu Yinyan and Sister Lan were puzzled. They looked at He Yuanyue and waited for her to explain. He Yuanyue sighed softly and said helplessly, but it is also the cycle of karma. Since these two families have done such things, they should bear the consequences and bear the karma. Mu Yinyan asked very carefully, this arrangement, is it not appropriate? It is not inappropriate. The arrangement is very, very good. Even if I arranged it myself, it would be just like this at most. Even. It is not as good as this. He Yuanyue held her head tiredly. You can go out. Let me be alone. Mu Yinyan and Sister Lan left as they were told. The two of them looked at each other, confused. In the room, He Yuanyue looked at the map and drew a few intersecting lines several times. Finally, she sighed softly. There were too many things that she did not dare to say. Although she could not bear it, the arrangement set by Xiao Duo was in line with all the interests of her side. In any case, He Yuanyue could not ruin it. She could only choose to rot in her stomach. Oh. Chapter 181. If I had known about this plan in advance, I would have advised them to reconsider. But since it has already been formed, then no one should know about it. Let this plan continue to exist. Everyone has their own selfish motives. Now for such a huge plan, it is too unsafe. I don't trust anyone. He Yuanyue smiled bitterly. This scheme was really too big. Even though the consequences for the Meng family and the Ning family were extremely cruel, but for Phoenix City there were endless benefits. What a meticulous plan. What a vicious heart. What a long-term plan. These 3 sentences kept echoing in He Yuanyue's heart. With the phoenix blood and resentment as the guide, the star origin coin is the official currency of the Yanwu Empire. It can even be said that the star origin coin is the foundation of the Yanwu Empire. With the phoenix blood as the foundation of the country, and with the help of a special formation, it is equivalent to gathering the power of the entire Yanwu Empire to suppress the Meng conglomerate and the Ning family clan's providence. With the phoenix blood as the foundation, it goes deep into the center of the drinking water of the source of life. It is also using the power of the empire to suppress the source of life. After the plan is formed, no matter what method the Meng and Ning families use, no matter where they are, as long as they are still in the astral soul's continent, no new life will be born. This is the second plan. The above 2 points can already be said to be extremely vicious. But it is just the beginning. With the phoenix blood as the foundation, it will push back the flow of the river. Between the 6 coins there is actually another layer of array. It will draw back the power of the phoenix vein that was intercepted and stolen by the Meng and Ning families. It will also wantonly absorb the accumulation of the 2 families' fortunes. From now on, Zhuxiaonian will be the one to take all the providence that comes with the trillion-dollar assets of the Meng consortium. The Ning family's thousands of years of fortune and ancestral legacy will not be enjoyed by the people of the Ning family anymore. It will be taken away bit by bit and turned into the power of the phoenix. Using the rivers, mountains and rivers, as well as the ancestral bloodline of a clan with 10,000 years of history, and the fortune of a wealthy conglomerate as the layout, it seems to be the 7 stars yin-yang fortune seizing layout on the surface, but it's not in the bones. It's because it's mixed with the fate of the nation. The 7 stars correspond to the celestial bodies. The worst thing is the piggy bank in Zhuxiaonian's hand. It's the accumulation of the person who inherited the fire dragon's vein. It's tainted with the fate of the nation and the blood of the phoenix. There should be more than 1 or 2 coins in the bank. As long as there are more than 3 of them, it will be 1 that gives birth to 2, 2 that gives birth to 3, and 3 that gives birth to all things. This is the heavenly layout. Heaven and earth yin-yang fate stealing killing formation. As long as this trap exists, Zhuoxiaonian will benefit from it. 70% of the luck in this trap is given to Zhuoxiaonian, and 30% is scattered in Phoenix City. In this way, even if the Phoenix Pulse spirit fails and Zhuoxiaonian dies, the Ning and Ming families won't benefit from it. Their luck will slowly dry up, and it's a foregone conclusion that all of them will perish. And the luck will only continue to feed back to Phoenix City. Even without Zhuoxiaonian, it would still be the same. On the other hand, if Zhuoxiaonian failed to break through the soul with the Phoenix vein, then Phoenix City, under the influence of this situation, would welcome a new soul with the Phoenix vein in less than 200 years. He Yuanyue couldn't help but smile bitterly. Zhuoxiaoduo's trap really proved one thing. Even if I die in the future, even if I don't get anything, the Ning and Ming families won't get anything either. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me. Of course, if I live, you'll still die. The harder you struggle, the more you feed back to Zhuoxiaonian. From now on, there won't be a Ning family or a Ming family in Phoenix City. He Yuanyue sighed softly. Also, is this the only effect of this trap? Maybe there's something I can't see through. Zhuoxiaoduo. Zhuoxiaonian. Zhuoxiaonian. He Yuanyue heaved a sigh of relief. I pray that you can fly and soar in the sky. Although I won't be able to see that day, I'm still willing to do my best to pave this path for you. Zhuoxiaoduo, this young man's temperament. He Yuanyue murmured, the devil's heart. The devil's heart hasn't shown anything yet, but this devil's heart has already formed. If he doesn't leave any leeway, the future will be full of troubles, child. He Yuanyue was full of worries, and the person she was worried about was sitting in the classroom listening to the lesson with a well-behaved face. It was the first lesson of the day. Qin Fengyang appeared in the classroom, full of energy and vigor. The melancholy from the early morning seemed to have long disappeared. In this lesson, you don't need to fight or practice. You just need to sit quietly and listen to me. Qin Fengyang stood on the podium. First of all, I'd like to say that this lesson is very important. As soon as they heard Qin Fengyang's words, the 48 students in the class became alert. Well, all 48 people in the class were present. Originally, there were 48 people in the 19th class. 6 of them died in the previous training. Zhuoxiaoduo and the others filled in the 6 vacancies, so there were still 48 people in the class. It was worth mentioning that Zhou Xiaoma was not disabled because of the timely treatment. Last night, I accidentally found out that Zhuoxiaoduo had begun to break through to the innate stage. Qin Fengyang's voice was heavy. I stopped his breakthrough. Do you know why I stopped him? Everyone in the class looked at Zhuoxiaoduo, who was sitting high up in the main seat, and shook their heads in confusion. Many people had looks of envy in their eyes. This guy had only broken through to the martial arts master a few days ago, and he was already ascending to the innate stage? Especially Long Yuxing, Li Chenglong and the others, they were all scratching their heads. Are we going to be completely left behind by Zhua? This is not good. We have to work harder, work harder. Long Yuxing and the others had already reached the pinnacle of the martial arts master. But they did not feel like breaking through. If I hadn't stopped him last night, Zhuoxiaoduo would have most likely succeeded in breaking through. Qin Fengyang sighed softly. His expression turned serious. Do you know that in the martial arts realm, there is often a saying of fighting beyond one's level? For example, an embryonic breathing realm ancient martial art practitioner can defeat an origin elixir realm grandmaster. He can even defeat an intermediate origin elixir realm grandmaster. Why is that? Some origin elixir realm grandmasters can even defeat a soul transformation realm expert. Why is that? Some soul transformation realm experts can even defeat Huayun. Why is that? Could it be that the division of ancient martial art practitioners is always so messy? Practicing to a high level but being defeated by someone of a low level. Then what is the use of the level? What is the use of the so-called realm? Qin Fengyang said, are you all thinking this? All the youth's faces were filled with confusion. Yes, why was it like this? If such things were very common and normal, then why was there a need to set up levels? Even if they were of the same level, the pinnacle of the origin elixir realm would not be able to withstand a single blow from another pinnacle of the origin elixir realm. Why is that? Qin Fengyang asked again. Long Yuxing raised his hand and asked, could it be because of the martial art techniques that we practice? Some martial art techniques are mysterious and have the ability to fight beyond one's level. Qin Fengyang nodded. This is indeed one of the factors. However, most of these martial art techniques exist in ancient martial art families and hidden sections. They would not end up in a martial arts school like ours. And any martial art technique, once it enters a martial arts school, will be lost in the crowd in a short period of time. Why is that? It is not that the martial art technique is not good, but that everyone is practicing it. This martial art technique will naturally lose its advantage. Therefore, martial art techniques can only be regarded as a very small aspect, and also a very special aspect to the general public. Qin Fengyang smiled. What's more, many families have special martial arts techniques that can only be practiced when one reaches the innate realm or above. This is the origin of the saying that those who do not enter the innate realm are all ants. So, it is not caused by the lack of combat experience? Li Chenglong asked nervously. There are not many things that combat experience can affect. Moreover, in terms of combat experience, it could be made up for through continuous battles. As long as one has courage and is not afraid of losing or dying, one can continue to accumulate combat experience. Qin Fengyang no longer kept them in suspense and said, the reason why I used the class today to explain to you is also the reason why I stopped Zhuo Duo from breaking through last night. The students in the class were in high spirits and each of them pricked up their ears. Breaking through to the innate realm is of course a good thing. In fact, most of the warriors would stop at this threshold. However, for those who have absolute confidence in breaking through to the innate realm, there is still a prerequisite. That is accumulation, and the capacity of the Dantian to maximize. Qin Fengyang's expression was serious. He turned around and took out two instruments. Everyone looked carefully and saw that they were two balloons. The Dantian is like this balloon. The total amount of your true qi is included in this balloon. Let's make an analogy. After breaking through to the innate realm, the conception and governing meridians will be opened and the bridge of heaven and earth will be connected, entering a whole new realm. If you need this breath to penetrate it, then the size and length of this breath will be the key to success or failure. Opening the meridians is a process of both sides exerting strength at the same time. The source of strength for both sides comes from the Dantian. Take a look. Qin Fengyang started to blow the balloon and stopped when it reached the size of a fist. The most direct example is, if one needs to have this level of strength and reach this realm to break through to the innate realm, then the total amount of strength in these two balloons will only add up to this amount. Correspondingly, the capacity of the Dantian will also be fixed at this size for a long time. Qin Fengyang's eyes were like lightning as he scanned the class. Do you understand now? Chapter 182. Qin Fengyang tied the balloon in front of him, then picked up another balloon and blew it until it was the size of a human head. He stopped. However, when your Dantian's capacity is only the size of a fist, when you can break through, you resist the urge to break through and save up your strength. Then, when you break through, your starting conditions in the innate stage will be many times better than others. There's no limit to the Dantian. As long as you can do it. Qin Fengyang picked up the fist-sized balloon again and blew it until it was the size of a watermelon. At this point, won't I have more strength? At this time, when I break through to the innate stage and open up my meridians, compared to those who break through to the innate stage at the same time, won't I be much stronger? At this time, when you fight those martial artists who break through to the innate stage at the same time, won't you be able to defeat them? This is the strength of the foundation. Qin Fengyang directly transformed the mysterious spirit qi foundation into something concrete and explained it. Everyone in the class was suddenly enlightened. Even if they already knew this before, they didn't see it as clearly as they did now. Therefore, when breaking through to the innate stage is inevitable and you have full confidence, then you have to try your best to inflate your Dantian and maximize it as much as possible. You have to accumulate more strength and more foundation. The more the better, the thicker the better. Qin Fengyang concluded, although doing so may take more time, in terms of the lifespan of a martial artist, the only way forward in the future is to consolidate one's foundation. Only then will one be able to go further and have the confidence to climb to a higher level. Why are some martial artists unable to advance after they reach the elixir stage, nascent soul stage, and cloud transformation stage? That's because, at the beginning, they don't accumulate enough foundation. When it's completely used up, they naturally have no strength to move forward. They can only stay at that level and slowly kill time. After years of struggling to break through, they die helplessly. Zhou Xiaoduo raised his hand and asked, then how can you be sure that you've reached the limit of inflating your dantian? This is a good question. Qin Fengyang said, actually, there's no fixed standard. It all depends on how hard you work. From the beginning, you have to work hard to control it and persevere until you can no longer control it. Then you can let your Zhenqi break through on its own. Every time the Zhenqi is about to break through, you have to try to control it. Don't let it succeed. If you can control it, it means that you haven't reached your limit yet. And when you can't control it, that's when you have to make a breakthrough. Qin Fengyang said indifferently, that's how it is. Everyone fell into deep thought. Qin Fengyang's heart stirred. He realized that his words were a bit extreme, so he hurriedly added a few more words. However, the method I'm talking about is only limited to your current age group. The maximum time limit is before the age of 20. If you're close to 20 years old, for example, when you're 19 and a half years old, you don't have to think about how to maximize your dantian. You have to get past this hurdle first. Leaping through the Dragon's Gate and entering the innate realm before the age of 20. It is a necessary point to have a way forward. Qin Fengyang said, everyone's situation is different, so it's best to be aware of your own situation. How many 19-year-olds are there in our class? The 5 of them stood up in shame. The 5 of you, don't be restricted by what I said before. No matter when you feel that you can break through, you have to break through as soon as possible. Don't worry about anything else. The corners of Qin Fengyang's mouth twitched unnoticeably. He had almost made a mistake. What he had said before was mostly aimed at geniuses. This method was not only useless to people with average aptitude, but it was also harmful. Fortunately, he thought of it in time and made up for it. If the students were to delay their breakthrough because of his theory of maximizing their dantian, they would regret it for the rest of their lives. Yes, the 5 of them were a little dejected. One of them muttered, Teacher Qin, if we break through now, would we be those negative examples that you mentioned just now? The ones that will be defeated by people who are of a higher level. Someone couldn't help but chuckle. Yes and no. Those who are able to challenge those of a higher level are basically the cream of the crop with outstanding talent, or those who have other opportunities. In this world, the vast majority of martial artists follow the prescribed order, one step at a time. Of course, if you advance to Xiantian in the most ordinary way, your path will definitely be narrower than those talented people. However, after breaking through to Xiantian, you still have a chance to catch up with others. That is the thorny road before breaking through to the embryonic breathing realm. At that time, as long as you can endure the pain that others can't and achieve more than 6 pressures, you can still make up for your lack of foundation. Qin Fengyang said, it's just that the pain that you have to endure at that time is not something that anyone can endure. Yes, or I should say that every ancient martial art practitioner has to go through an extreme pain to hone himself. That time it's a test of endurance, and innate ability. Everyone was deep in thought. The Xiantian stage is the most crucial stage in the process of a martial art practitioner's cultivation. Although the Xiantian stage is only the beginning, it is related to how far you can go in this life. I hope that all of you will remember this. When you reach the Xiantian stage and break through to the embryonic breathing realm after completing the thorny road with 6 pressures, you will be able to crush someone of the same level who has completed the 5 pressures. However, when you face a practitioner with 8 pressures with 6 pressures, you won't be able to retaliate at all. This is the huge difference. Therefore, when you face an enemy in the future, don't think that since everyone is in the intermediate stage of the embryonic breathing realm and the intermediate stage of the primordial elixir realm, we should be evenly matched. This kind of thinking is absolutely wrong. Xiantian is different from Xiantian, and embryonic breathing is even more different from embryonic breathing realm. The difference between primordial elixir realm and primordial elixir realm could be as huge as heaven and earth. Remember this. Qin Fengyang's voice was very solemn. In his voice, there was a kind of vigor that was similar to the evening drum and morning bell. These words were firmly engraved in the hearts of all the students. Zhuo Xiaoduo's heart was in awe, and his eyes were filled with worry. Teacher Qin was burning himself like this, but who knew how long he could continue burning? Qin Fengyang ended today's lesson. Everyone, think with all your heart for 15 minutes. After that, those who should go for training go for training. Those who should go for training go for training. As for Li Chenglong and the rest, they rushed out as fast as they could and went to the gravity room. Zhuo Xiaoduo walked in front of Qin Fengyang and said, Teacher Qin, I need to apply for leave in the afternoon. For what? To forge weapons. Qin Fengyang looked at him with surprise and asked, Forging now? Isn't it a little early? Let's forge them first and leave them there. My father said that a very skilled blacksmith came to our house. He won't be staying here for too long. This is a rare opportunity, so let's make good use of it. Qin Fengyang frowned and said with some understanding, Then you can go? Hey, didn't you say you wanted to meet the old principal? When? Why don't we meet now? Zhuo Xiaoduo asked tentatively. All right. Qin Fengyang's face softened and said, I'll ask the old principal if he has time. Qin Fengyang led Zhuo Xiaoduo into the large office, but as soon as they entered, He Yuanyue asked them to leave. Teacher Qin, I have some questions to ask Zhuo Xiaoduo today. It's not convenient for you to be here, so please help yourself. Qin Fengyang's face was gloomy. What's going on? I haven't even said anything, and she's already kicking me out. Qin Fengyang left. Lan Jia was also sent away by He Yuanyue. She turned her eyes to Zhuo Xiaoduo. Xiaoduo, you should know why I asked them to leave. Your teacher Qin and Professor Lan are people I can trust, but I still asked them to leave. What do you think of that? Zhuo Xiaoduo scratched his head. He put on an innocent face and said, It must be Grandma He who wants to teach me a secret. She doesn't want it to be known to anyone else. He Yuanyue didn't laugh. Instead, she looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo with a serious expression. For a long time she didn't speak. At this moment Zhuo Xiaoduo couldn't help but put away his laziness. He actually felt a little uneasy and laughed dryly. Grandma He, what are you doing? He Yuanyue let out a sigh of relief. The matrix you set up. Is it the yin-yang reversal array? Or is it more than that? Zhuo Xiaoduo was silent. He didn't want He Yuanyue to know about this, but He Yuanyue still found out. Although Zhuo Xiaoduo knew that he couldn't hide this from the old principal for too long, he still hoped that he could hide it for as long as possible. Zhuo Xiaoduo was silent for a moment, then spoke in a low voice. Is the stellar cycle of 3 souls and 7 spirits, yin-yang reversal. He Yuanyue couldn't help but gasp. He had already thought of the matter as sinister as possible, but he didn't expect that he had overlooked one point. He hadn't thought of it ruthlessly enough. His premonition was actually true. Yes, the Spirit Pearl Lake, the Heavenly Pearl Lake, and Zhuo Xiaonian herself. These 3 intersecting points are the 3 souls parallel array. On the surface it's the Heaven, Earth and Man tripartite array, but underneath it's the 3 souls array. The Heavenly Pearl Lake, the Spirit Pearl Lake, the Meng Corporation, the Ning family's ancestral grave. These 2 man-made lakes, and the Zhuo Xiaonian side, reflect the 7 spirits' reverse radiance. Above it's the Qiantian. Below it's the topography, it's the earth and earth. The heavens and earth combine. And all the stars in the sky are under its control. Reversing the original topography, it's the yin-yang reversal. He Yuanyue let out a long sigh. Xiaoduo, your method is a little too sinister. It's against the harmony of the heavens. Zhuo Xiaoduo was silent for a moment. He put away his carefree attitude and said coldly, The people I've dealt with have only been the ancestors of the Ning and Meng families in their past lives and present lives. It didn't involve any other families or surnames. Old principal, think about it. If these 2 families succeed in the end, who will be the victims? The closest ones will be the millions of people in Phoenix City, and the farthest ones will be the billions of people in the astral souls. What punishment can't be meted out? Based on this reason alone, I don't think I did anything wrong. On the contrary, I hate that I don't have enough power. If I had enough power, why would I have to go through so much trouble? I just kill my way to their door, overturn the Meng family, crush the Ning family, dig up their ancestral graves and burn their bones to ashes. Do you think it's better to update separately? Or to update in the afternoon or at night? Chapter 183. Zhuo added another sentence in his heart. I only did this for Nian Cat. The well-being of the mainland, the people, and the people of Phoenix City are secondary. Just because these two families wanted to deal with my Nian Cat, I will make sure that they will never be reincarnated. Perhaps others would repay evil with good, but it will never be me, Zhuo. I only hate that my revenge is not ruthless enough. I only hate that my methods are not ruthless enough. I only hate that the consequences are not tragic enough. But you set up this trap. Heaven and earth are turned upside down, and yin and yang are rebelling. If there is a past and present life and reincarnation, the people of the two families who have entered the cycle of reincarnation will also have their fate and life extracted. Xiaoduo. He Yuanyua's eyes were full of pity. Your plan is to extract the fate of these two families. Is there a fixed number? Xiaoduo said quietly. I use the coins in the piggy bank as a guide. The number of coins is the number of lifetimes. He Yuanyue smiled bitterly. You are a promising person. There should be at least 17 or 18 lifetimes, right? Not only that. Xiaoduo coughed and said, Principal, you know that I am. Cough, more or less stingy. That is the piggy bank that I have been using since I was 5 or 6 years old. All the coins that my parents gave me in those 2 years, I did not spend a single cent. It is all in there. There should be at least 300 to 500 coins. Cough. He Yuanyue suddenly coughed. 300 to 500 coins. That corresponded to 300 to 500 lifetimes. The phoenix blood and dragon soul were activated, the power of heaven and earth was suppressed, and the 1,000-year fate of the country was suppressed. In addition, the stars in the sky were strangling, the yin and yang were reversed, and the 3 souls and 7 spirits were locked. The structure of this formation was already incredible, but the degree of danger was even more terrifying and shocking. This was more or less stingy. You did not spend a single cent. Did you know this when you were 5 or 6 years old? That was impossible. Could only be said that this was fate. What smoke rose from the ancestral graves of the Ning and Meng families to provoke such a person? He Yuanyue could only be speechless. We'll need to hold on to such an interconnected setup for a period of time. If someone with ulterior motives sees through it and destroys it, our plans will inevitably fail. Don't worry, old headmaster. The plan has already been set. No external force can destroy it. Xiaoduo said proudly. That's already a dead end. Destined to die? It can't be destroyed? He Yuanyue frowned. Yes, because I've already broken the momentum of heaven and earth of Phoenix Ridge and Carefree Slope. As for the heavenly Jewel Lake, it changed direction and flowed along the Conglan River. As for the spiritual Jewel Lake, it also used the Hanshui River to change direction. These rivers are the lifeblood that runs through the entire Central Plains. Unless someone could reverse the flow of the Cold Water River and the Conglan River, which were thousands of kilometers long, it would be difficult to break this situation. Even if the Ning and Meng families were turned into dust, it would still be the same. Old headmaster, you're an expert. You should know that the Cold Water River goes all the way south, connecting the heavenly snow mountains to the clear sea. The source of the Conglan River seems closer, but it converges with the Star Beast Forest and the Astral Souls Mountains. It goes all the way east and converges with the Tianyuan River, returning to the Eastern Sea. The only feasible way to change this situation is to turn the 2 seas on the other side into 10,000 tall mountains, and then turn the original 10,000 tall mountains into the seas. Only then can we steal the sky and change the sun, and eliminate the Death Rebellion. Xiaoduo smiled innocently then. It's almost the same as the sea turning into mulberry fields. I think that the Ning and Meng families don't have the power to do that. He Yuanyue closed her eyes and sighed. How could the Ning and Meng families not have the power to do that? No one had the power to do that. If that was the case, it would be better to turn the entire continent upside down. When you were setting up the plan, how much did you leave for the Phoenix City? He Yuanyue asked. You should know that the moon's profit will lead to a loss. Did you not consider this? Of course I did. That's why I set the origin point at the Phoenix Dance Home District. The Phoenix Dance Home District occupies a certain proportion of the Phoenix City, including the city's power, the ley lines, and the population's fate. Zuo said sincerely, how could I take it all? The original intention of setting up this plan was for the sake of my beloved hometown, the Phoenix City. He Yuanyue smiled bitterly. You might as well take it all if you distributed it in such a way. Although the Phoenix Dance Home District was a large residential district with a population of more than 80,000 people, it only occupied 1% of the inner city area of the Phoenix City. In other words, the Phoenix City's share of fate was at most 1% of the city's fate. Even if the city center was added, the city's power, and the tens of thousands of people's fate were added, at most, 1/10 of the city's fate could be distributed to the entire city. That was the most. You purposely set up this plan behind my back. There must be another reason, right? He Yuanyue asked curiously. But with my attainments in fate observation, I can't see it. Zuo hesitated and said, after the success of the Wind Pulse Spirit, Sister Nian Nian's future will be very smooth. It's only a matter of time before she becomes famous. But no matter how smooth her life is, it's inevitable that there will be envy and jealousy. And the biggest reason I set up this plan was for Sister Nian's sake. In the future, no matter where Sister Nian Nian is, if anyone intends to use feng shui, terrain, or even secret curses to target her in the Phoenix City, they will suffer from the backlash of this array. Because this array already contains the 5 elements of yin and yang, the stars in the sky, and the heavens and earth's fate energy, there's basically no trick that can exceed this limit. Right? He Yuanyue muttered. You're so far-sighted, so thoughtful. Also, over time, because of this array, Sister Nian Nian's fate will gradually be linked to the fate of the nation. After all, the object that the array carries is equivalent to the Yanwu nation's currency. Zuo said, when that time comes in the entire Yanwu nation, whoever has bad intentions towards her will also suffer from the backlash of varying degrees. But that's a matter for a very long time. It's just a little wild hope. He Yuanyue smiled bitterly. There's a longer wild hope? Yes, I've spent so much effort. How can it stop here? Zuo replied very straightforwardly. He Yuanyue was already confused. She was just asking casually. Who would have thought that there was really more? In her opinion, it was already unimaginable, shocking, and terrifying that an array could be set up to this stage. How could there be more? A deeper level of wild hope. I used the Yanwu nation's astral soul's currency as a fixed object. In essence, that's placing the array on the empire's time of existence. This is actually a variable. Perhaps it will be taken over by other empires in the future. After all, the change of dynasties is inevitable in history. And once the Yanwu nation falls, Nian Nian, who is connected to its fate, will definitely suffer from the backlash. But there's another mystery in this array. That is, it's connected to the yin and yang of the stars. It means that after a certain period of time, under the influence of the heaven and earth array, Sister Nian Nian's individual fate will be connected to the fate of the entire continent of astral souls. That way, even if the Yanwu nation, cough cough, it won't be a problem. Zuo said with a look of relief. He Yuanyue sighed. You've set up this array to this stage. It's practically invulnerable. Even if the sea turns into mulberry fields and the stars change, it might not be able to destroy it. But have you ever thought that setting up this heaven-seizing array with your own strength will harm you? I've thought about it, but it doesn't matter to me. After all, I'll be with Sister Nian Nian often. With her exuberant fate, she'll be able to offset some of the backlash for me. As for the rest of the damage, let it be. At most, I'll do more good deeds in the future, save more people and accumulate more merit. It won't be a problem. Zuo smiled calmly and confidently. He Yuanyue snorted. This brat really planned for her Sister Nian Nian to the extreme. However, this brat missed one point, and that was, he was the dragon bloodline bearer himself. Therefore, not only would this array not harm him, but it would also benefit him greatly. Whatever benefits Xiaonian could gain, he would also gain. It was just that this brat didn't know that he was the dragon bloodline bearer, so he was still in the dark. However, this was a good thing. The heavenly Tao was most wary of creating one's own luck, and harming others to benefit oneself. Once it happened, one would be punished by the heavens. It was only a matter of time before retribution came. Under the premise that Swordsmanship didn't know that he was also a beneficiary, he set up this array and perfectly avoided this heavenly punishment. It was really fate and luck. What a great fortune! Yuanyue couldn't help but sigh. This brat was so lucky. Your aura examination technique. Did you find Qin Fengyang to enlighten you? Yuanyue didn't ask about the array anymore. What was done couldn't be changed. It was useless to ask. Yes. Very good. You've improved at a godly speed. It's unexpected. Yuanyue was very satisfied. It's very impressive that you can inherit this secret technique. Where did you discover this array from? Although Wuxia's aura examination knowledge came from Yuanyue only skimmed through most of it. She really didn't have the energy to learn all of it. If Swordsmanship stuffed 1,000 books into his head, Yuanyue could only study 50 of them at most. Of course, this was already very impressive. The foundation of my array came from a heavenly fate evil lord. Swordsmanship coughed and said, this lord once set up an array in a vain attempt to connect half of the continent's aura with himself, but he suffered a backlash in the end. Many of the strange stories of aura examination have more or less mentioned this incident. It's a typical example of a failed plan to set up an aura examination bureau to warn future generations. I was very curious about this, so I summarized it and modified it. Then I got this array from it. Besides, the terrain of Phoenix City is really suitable. If I don't use it, I'll feel embarrassed. Chapter 184. Yuanyue smiled bitterly. You little brat, you really put in a lot of effort to gather all the relevant clues about this formation and finally reconstruct it. In the entire Central Plains, I'm afraid that no one has a more comprehensive collection of chi-observing skill than me. However, chi-observing skill is hard to learn and hard to master. It's even harder to put it into practice. In the future, when you encounter relevant knowledge, you still have to study it seriously, understand? Understood. Swordsmanship agreed very obediently. In terms of chi-observing skill, based on your attainment in setting up this formation on your own, I have nothing more to teach you. At most, we can discuss it together in the future. Yuanyue was very gratified. As if a heavy burden had been lifted from her shoulders. Well, if I have any questions in the future, I'll come to ask Grandma He at any time. The path of martial arts is like sailing against the current. You mustn't be arrogant and complacent. You mustn't slack off on your cultivation and the advancement of your concealed weapons. If possible, you mustn't fall behind in other aspects. Yuanyue warned, it's best if you can always progress together. By the way, now that your talent has been revealed, whether it's the Dragon Gate or the Thorny Road, you must maximize your limit before facing them. Do you understand? Even if the time to break through is much slower than others, you must build a solid foundation. Don't worry about temporary gains and losses. Understood. If there's nothing else, you can go back and cultivate. Yuanyue said kindly, Xiaoduo, you've taken over a lot of my burdens. Grandma He is very happy. Xiaoduo hesitated for a moment and said, there's one more thing, I don't know if I should say it. What is it? Yuanyue asked casually. It's about Master Qin Fengyang. Xiaoduo lowered his voice and began to complain. I found that Master Qin has been very strange recently. Strange? What's wrong? What's wrong? I found that Master Qin is teaching students now, and he often uses the skill of passing on fire. His spiritual force will appear to be in a state of burning when he teaches students. Xiaoduo looked at Yuanyue anxiously and said, but I can't persuade her. When Yuanyue heard the words legend of the torch, her body in the wheelchair suddenly straightened up, and her eyes became extremely sharp. However, after listening to it, her eyes became more and more uncertain. Her face revealed an indescribable sadness and heartache. I understand. Yuanyue waved her hand and closed her eyes. She leaned against the back of the wheelchair and motioned for Xiaoduo to leave. Xiaoduo left quietly. Yuanyue lay in the wheelchair and did not move for a long time. Only silent tears flowed down silently. Fengyang, what are you trying to do? She wept silently, almost silently sobbing. Her heart ached to the extreme, but it was undeniable that the satisfaction and sweetness that arose spontaneously in her heart also overflowed in the same way. After a long time, she carefully wiped her eyes and face clean and pressed the button. Sister Lan came in. "Let's have a meeting." He Yuanyue said softly, "Gather Li Changjiang Hu Ruoyun Luo Lai Kong Zifang Meng Deki and Qin Fangyang and she called more than 20 names in a row. The principal, the vice principal, the teaching director, the grade minister, the logistics director, and several outstanding martial arts teachers brought Qin Fangyang in without leaving a trace. "Okay, when?" "This afternoon." "Set the time at 3 o'clock in the afternoon." He Yuanyue said. "Okay." Sister Lan hesitated and said, "Qin Fangyang wants to see you." "Oh." He Yuanyue said, "Let him in." When Qin Fangyang entered He Yuanyue's office, he saw He Yuanyue holding a book and wearing a pair of reading glasses. She was calmly and peacefully reading a book. There was a calming incense burning on the table, and the air was filled with astral soul origin qi, as well as the scent of heart-cleansing grass. Obviously, He Yuanyue was nourishing her body. Qin Fangyang was slightly relieved and said respectfully, "Old principal, I'm here." "Well, Fangyang." He Yuanyue put down the book and put on her reading glasses. She looked at Qin Fangyang kindly, as if she was looking at her own junior. "What's the matter?" "Well, there's indeed something. Last night, Meng Tianyue and Ning Suifeng came to me." "They came to you? What's the matter?" He Yuanyue was surprised and her expression changed slightly. Qin Fangyang said, "It's probably because of Shen Yushu's incident. The Meng family and the Ning family took advantage of Shen Yushu's falling out with me, and my identity as a cultivator at the peak of nascent soul was exposed. So these two families must want to make friends with me. They actually joined forces to wipe out the Shen family, and the other two families who participated in the bounty hunt for me. They sent me 98 heads with great fanfare." He Yuanyue's body trembled and she slowly raised her head. There was a look of disbelief in her eyes. 98 heads? Yes, including Shen Yushu's whole family, even his illegitimate children and so on. Then there were the families of the other two students who participated in the hunt. Not even a chicken or dog was spared. Really vicious and merciless, too cruel. He Yuanyue slowly closed her eyes and only felt a throbbing pain in her heart. Whose family's child died without anger in their heart? Why can't they be scolded? It's human nature to be emotional, it's understandable. After all, they were children who were raised with feces and urine. If Shen Yushu and the others went too far and were killed by your counterattack, then it's their own fault. But why did the Meng family and the Ning family annihilate their entire family? He Yuanyue said angrily, "It's enough to kill the culprit. Why did they have to annihilate their entire family?" Qin Fangyang stood quietly and didn't speak. After a long time, He Yuanyue asked in a low voice, "What else? These two families killed people. They didn't just want to do you a favor, right? What did they want to do? They didn't have the chance to say that I blamed them for giving me too little. Ahem, it's not that the heads were too little, but they gave me the bounty and so on. I said that I thought these things were too little." Qin Fangyang said. "Well, what did you say?" "Old principal, don't misunderstand. When they were persuading me, I secretly contacted that child Xiao Duo. He let me use this opportunity to make things difficult for them, and extort a large sum of money and resources from them. I have no use for these, so I want to ask you, old principal, in the name of Second Hike. How much exactly?" "A total of 10 billion star yuan. Astral Souls Flame Pills 200 pills. 10,000-year-old Spirit Herbs 10 stalks. High-grade Astral Souls Jade 20,000 pieces. A cultivation technique that can allow one to cultivate to cloud transformation. What do you want to do?" "The Astral Souls Flame Pills and Spirit Herbs, as well as the high-grade Astral Souls Jade and the cultivation technique, will all be left in Second High. The Astral Souls Flame Pills and some Spirit Herbs will be beneficial to your body, old principal. I hope you can accept them to heal your body." Qin Fangyang looked at He Yuanyue's face and said seriously. He Yuanyue was silent for a moment. "Okay, I'll accept them." Qin Fangyang's spirits were roused as he said, "In addition of the 10 billion star origin coins, I would like to leave 2 billion for Second High School. As for the rest, I would like to trouble principal to donate 2 billion to the soldiers of Sun Moon Pass in the name of second high school. Okay, no problem. There's still 6 billion left. 1 billion will be donated to the Military Research and Development Department. 2 billion will be donated to the Disabled Soldiers Resettlement Department. The last 3 billion will be donated to the Yenwu Weapons Research Institute. Okay, I agree. I'll get it done for you. He Yuanyue smiled happily. Teacher Qin, I can't thank you on behalf of everyone, but you don't have to say anything. Qin Fengyang smiled. I'm just using this money to buy peace of mind. Peace of mind? What a good peace of mind. He Yuanyue admired him and couldn't help but smile. Yes, peace of mind. Where the heart is at peace is my hometown. I'm satisfied to be able to have peace of mind. Qin Fengyang also smiled. Okay, where the heart is at peace is your hometown. Good, good. He Yuanyue clapped her hands and praised. Teacher Qin, you must remember this in the future. Don't forget your feelings. Qin Fengyang was stunned. I've learned something. Zhou Xiaoduo left the principal's office and went to the gravity room. Just as he was about to enter, the teacher in charge of the gravity room stopped him. Wait, what's the matter? Zhou Xiaoduo was confused. I've already used up my contribution points. Why do I have to wait? My time is very precious, okay? It's like this. Your homeroom teacher, Teacher Qin, has prepared some weight-bearing equipment for you. In the future, whether you're in the gravity room or anywhere else, including eating and sleeping, you have to wear these weight-bearing equipment. Get used to it early. After saying that, the teacher took out a set of weight-bearing equipment. This equipment was originally prepared by Qin Fengyang, but he was busy the entire night and had many things to deal with in the morning, so he didn't have the time to explain it personally. Teacher Gu, who was in charge of the gravity room, was afraid of delaying Zhou Xiaoduo, so he took out his own equipment and gave it to him under Qin Fengyang's name. Weight-bearing equipment? Yes, I'll help you put it on. It'll be a little difficult at first, but it'll be fine once you get used to it. Teacher Gu took off all the weight-bearing equipment. Wrists, elbows, back, ankles, calves, thighs, and even the very small weights on his fingers. Even on my fingers. Zhou Xiaoduo was confused. Aren't you going to train your skills with hidden weapons? The flexibility of your fingers is the key. Teacher Gu said earnestly. Don't underestimate the 10 small pieces on your fingers. As long as you keep wearing them and get used to them, you won't be affected no matter how you use hidden weapons. In the future, the power of your hidden weapons will be increased by more than 10 times. I understand. Thank you for your guidance, teacher. Remember, no matter what you do, even if you go to the toilet, you can't take them off. Okay, but how long do I have to wear them? Wear them until you get used to them. When you can move freely like normal, you can change them to heavier ones. Teacher Gu rolled his eyes and said, as long as you haven't broken through to the nascent soul stage, you can always wear them. Chapter 185. Understood. But don't be stupid. Take it off when you're in a life and death battle. Oh right, after you wear it for a while, take it off to get used to your current state. For example, speed, strength, etc. Do you understand? Teacher Gu said, don't be like some idiot who wears it all the time. When you charge into a battle, you can't control your speed and end up on the tip of the enemy's sword. Fuck. Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. There's such a thing. Can you tell me about it? Tell your ass. Hurry up and get in there to cultivate. Teacher Gu kicked Zhou Xiaoduo in. This brat, no wonder Qin Fengyang kicked him here and there. He really deserved a beating. Teacher Gu was too curious. Zhou Xiaoduo entered the gravity chamber with the weights. He felt something different the moment he entered. He felt his whole body suddenly drop. If it wasn't directly attached to his skin and was fixed to his pants, the belt of his pants would have fallen to his ankles. Fuck. It can be used as a tool to take off my pants. Zhou Xiaoduo muttered to himself. After getting used to it, he found himself in a situation that was even more difficult than the first time he entered the gravity room. With a thought, he immediately activated the Flaming Sun scripture. The effects were immediate and his body suddenly felt lighter. However, a certain spear also rose into the air with him. The weights are still lacking. This place should be able to withstand 180 kilograms of weight. Swishaoduo looked at it and muttered to himself. He couldn't help but daydream. I wonder if this place needs to be trained? After thinking for a long time, he gave up. It'll be troublesome if I don't train hard enough and break it. However, even if he gave up, Swishaoduo still had new ideas and worries. This thing is actually pretty good. I kick people's crotch every day, but my crotch is more obvious than the average person's. What if people kick me too? Protective gear. Should I make an iron underwear? Protect it? Swishaoduo looked at his second brother, and couldn't help but feel a little melancholy. Second brother, you're too majestic. You're too big a target. It's too shocking. You're too easy to attack. You should know that the gun shoots the bird that sticks out, and the tallest tree in the forest will be the first to be destroyed by the wind. As he mumbled to himself, he began to train. As expected, even with the help of the Flaming Sun scripture, it was still much more difficult than yesterday. Many of the movements that he was already familiar with began to go out of shape. It really isn't easy. Without any protective gear, he could have completed all the moves consecutively, and could even perform them in the air. However, after putting on the protective gear, he was already exhausted after just one set of galaxy steps. He could not continue. Sure enough, it works. Swishaoduo endured the pain and stood up to recover just like before. Then, he continued to train and sharpen his body. Until 12:30 in the afternoon. Qin Fengyang, who was waiting outside, realized that Swishaoduo still hadn't come out. When he opened the door, he saw that the kid was lying at the door. He didn't even have the strength to open the door, just like before. He grabbed his scalp and dragged him out. However, he immediately felt that something was wrong. You added more weights? Beside him, Teacher Gu looked at Qin Fengyang's rough movements. The corner of his mouth twitched. He rolled his eyes and said, even his form teacher forgot about it. What can I do if I don't prepare it? Am I going to hold him back? Qin Fengyang nodded apologetically. Thank you. I'll return it to you when I make a new one. There's no need. When this kid graduates, just let me keep it. It doesn't matter who uses it. Teacher Gu was unusually open-minded. I think this kid will definitely become famous. I might even be able to benefit from it. After all, I'll be able to guide him in his cultivation. Qin Fengyang stopped and looked at Teacher Gu seriously. Old Gu, since we're acquaintances, let me give you a piece of advice. You should give up on this idea as soon as possible. Otherwise, you'll definitely regret it. Teacher Gu was confused. Why? Can't you tell what kind of person this kid is? Even if he becomes famous in the future, it'll probably be a bad name. The higher his cultivation, the more enemies he'll have. By the time this kid reaches my current level, his enemies will be all over the astral souls. Are you sure you'll benefit from it? Teacher Gu subconsciously imagined the possible scenario. He couldn't help but shudder. Then forget it. Looking at Qin Fengyang dragging Swishaoduo away like a dead dog, Teacher Gu muttered to himself. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that Qin Fengyang's words made sense. This kid's personality, if he really reaches the level of nascent soul, even if his enemies can't be all over the astral souls, they can still be all over the central planes. I'm from a small family, not to mention the astral souls all over the central planes, even if it's all over Phoenix City. I won't be able to take it. Teacher Gu gave up and stopped thinking about it. Forget it, I'll just treat it as doing a good deed and not leaving my name behind. The other few brats seemed to be stronger than this brat. Today they all came here with weights. Although it's not as heavy as 50 kilograms, it's obvious that their families are experienced and understand the process of progressing step by step. Even that little girl has brought a load with her. These fellows are really putting their lives on the line to cultivate. The only one Teacher Gu couldn't understand was Li Zhongming. What's wrong with this guy? I don't understand. He went to the gravity room with weights and entered a deep sleep. Isn't the quality of his sleep too good? Should I ask him how to treat insomnia? This guy should be an expert in sleeping. After leaving the gravity room, Swishaoduo quickly recovered and rushed back home as fast as he could because he was about to starve to death. This time he was really starving to death. When he got home, he happened to see Zhuxiaonian coming out of the bathroom wearing a large bath towel. Her hair was wet and her snow-white shoulders were exposed. Seeing Swishaoduo barging in, Zhuoxiaonian subconsciously kicked him out. Zhuo Xiaoduo saw something he shouldn't have seen. Then he flew out of the bathroom. Zhuoxiaonian rushed into her room with a red face. She could feel her heart pounding. Damn it, what did you see just now? This bastard actually came in just like that. How dare he? Humph! Zhuo Xiaoduo had a small footprint on his stomach. He climbed up the stairs with a sad face and saw Wu Yuting smiling. Damn it, what are you doing? How would I know she was taking a bath? Zhuo Xiaoduo was angry. You're so unreasonable. I didn't have time to see anything. And I was kicked out. What else do you want to see? Zhuoxiaonian changed her clothes and walked out angrily. She couldn't help but blush. Humph! I can't afford to offend you, but I can't hide. Zhuo Xiaoduo, who had turned his grief and indignation into appetite, started to eat like a maniac. In this meal, he actually ate 12 more steamed buns than usual. Wu Yuting was dumbstruck by what she saw. She couldn't live like this anymore. Her dog's appetite had increased again. After lunch, Wu Yuting, who knew that the siblings were going to forge weapons, gave the storage ring to Zhuoxiaonian. Let's go. Zhuoxiaonian said. Wait, I have something to do. Zhuo Xiaoduo pulled Zhuoxiaonian into Zhuoxiaonian's room. What? Zhuoxiaonian asked with her eyes wide open. Now that it's completely stable, I made an extra accessory for you. Zhuo Xiaoduo smiled and took out a jade pendant made of jade. What are you doing? Zhuoxiaonian looked at it from the corner of her eyes. It was so exquisite that she liked it. What are you doing? Of course I'm doing something good. Zhuo Xiaoduo snorted and bent down to take out the piggy bank under the bed. He poured out a bloody coin from it and put the piggy bank back. Then he put the coin into the hollow jade pendant. Wear it and don't take it off in the future. Do you understand? Zhuo Xiaoduo ordered with an unprecedented domineering aura. Zhuoxiaonian's face suddenly turned red. She looked at Zhuo Xiaoduo and gently lowered her swan-like slender neck. Put it on for me. You want me to put it on for you? Zhuo Xiaoduo said impatiently. Women are so troublesome. Can't you just put it on yourself? So troublesome. Are you going to put it on or not? Her canine teeth were exposed fiercely. Yes, let me put it on for my dear sister Nian Nian. Zhuo Xiaoduo immediately gave in and helped Zhuoxiaonian hang it around her neck. Then he pulled open her lapel and put it inside. You pervert! Bang! Zhuo Xiaoduo flew out again. His whole body was stuck to the wall like a New Year painting. He slid down like an air-dried frog, his face full of grievance and unhappiness. Didn't you ask me to put it on for you? Why did you get hit again? Looking at his confused and wronged face, Zhuoxiaonian almost laughed out loud. Blushing, she tidied herself up and said nonchalantly, Let's go to the blacksmith shop. Zhuo Xiaoduo followed her out with a sullen face. After a while he said angrily, Why did you hit me? He wanted to swallow his anger, but he realized that he couldn't. Do I need a reason to hit you? Do I need it? Do I really need it? Zhuoxiaonian snorted and walked in front without looking sideways. If you hit me again You'll what? I'll bark and bite you. Zhuo Xiaoduo made a fierce expression. Haha. Wear this for a while. This thing is still too fragile. But we really don't have any good materials now. When we get to the blacksmith shop, see if we can make a stronger one. Otherwise, it can be easily broken in a fight. It'll be a hindrance, Zhuo Xiaoduo said. Zhuoxiaonian was speechless. Blacksmith shop? Are you sure you're serious? Student Zhuo Xiaoduo, have you ever seen an accessory hanging around a girl's neck? Was it made in a blacksmith shop? This line of thought was simply too strange. I really want to open your head and see what's going on in your brain. How can you always say such shocking things? Zhuoxiaonian gritted her teeth. Chapter 186. It was clearly a very heartwarming and romantic thing, but when it was done by this kid and then said by him, it changed and distorted. Anyone who heard it would only want to beat him up. They really didn't know what kind of trait it was. The siblings hailed a taxi and headed to the business district. When they got in the car, Zhuoxiaonian didn't feel anything strange. However, when Zhuo Xiaoduo got in the car, the whole car's chassis suddenly sank. The driver looked back in shock. Did a bear just get in the car? They arrived. They got out of the car. There was a big board in front of them. Long Road Astral Souls Stone Shop. Yes, this was Dad's shop and also their family's shop. Next to it was the destination of the day, a blacksmith shop. There was also a board hanging at their destination, but this board was made of a freshly cut piece of wood. A name was written on it with a brush, and it was hung there without even removing the bark around the board. As for the name, it was even weirder. Iron River Blacksmith Shop. TSK Tisk. Zhuo couldn't stop clicking his tongue. How unique. This name is really unique. If you don't write it, people won't be able to imagine that this is a blacksmith shop. Long Road Astral Souls Stone Shop. Iron River Blacksmith Shop. What a perfect match. At this moment, a person walked out of the blacksmith shop. It was none other than Zhuo Chonglu. Mr. Zhuo frowned when he saw the siblings. Why don't you come in since you're already here? Are you wasting time? Oh. Zhuo Xiaoduo put on his most obedient and adorable face and walked in carefully with Zhuo Xiaonian. Dad, are you here to help us investigate? How's the blacksmith's skill? Don't worry about it. No matter what you do, your Uncle Wu will help you perfect it to your heart's content, Zhuo Chonglu said. That's awesome. Zhuo Xiaonian and Zhuo Xiaoduo obviously did not believe it. The moment they entered the room, they were greeted by numerous blacksmithing tools. All of them were extraordinary, and the main thing was that they looked really strange. Regardless of whether it was the furnace, hammer, fan, etc., they were all different from what the two of them knew. However, all of the blacksmithing tools were complete. Every successful craftsman would create a set of tools that they could use easily. This was not surprising. However, what the hell was that bronze statue standing by the side? Its figure was no different from a living person, and it was extremely lifelike. Seeing the family of three enter, the bronze man actually moved while the two people were dumbfounded. He smiled and said, Brother Zhuo, are these your daughter and son? Indeed, they are all dragons and phoenixes among men. Zhuo Chonglu smiled and said, This is your Uncle Wu. Your Uncle Wu is called Wu Taijiang. Remember that. Zhuo Xiaonian and Zhuo Xiaoduo stood at the door, stunned and speechless for a long time. Damn, the two of us really thought that it was just a bronze statue. This Uncle Wu really deserved to be called a blacksmith. He had almost turned himself into a bronze statue. That bronze-colored skin, bronze-colored face, and bronze-colored hands, it was just too realistic, alright? If he stood at the door or anywhere else, he would look like a bronze statue. Hello, Uncle Wu. The siblings quickly regained their senses and bowed respectfully in unison. Well, no need to be so polite. Just tell me what you want to make. I'll do it as soon as possible and get it done as soon as possible. Uncle Wu was obviously impatient and went straight to the point. I want to make a sword. Zhuo Xiaonian took out her phone and opened the pictures. Uncle Wu carefully looked at the dozens of pictures, and even exported all of them. He used the projector to enlarge them on the wall, and studied them bit by bit. It's not a big problem. Making a sword like this is not difficult. Wu Tiejiang's large hand, which was like a cattail leaf fan, was pointing at the projector. At close range, Zhuo Xiaoduo and Zhuo Xiaonian were shocked to find that Blacksmith Wu's body was almost like a giant among ordinary people. He was at least 2.1 meters tall with broad shoulders and long legs, big hands and feet, and his entire body. Well, it was as if he was made of pure bronze. Uncle Wu, I have an additional request. Zhuo Xiaonian pointed at the giant sword on the wall that was bigger than her and said, The guard of the sword hilt is the sword guard. Can you hit 2 cute puppies with it? Cute puppies? What do you mean? Blacksmith Wu was stunned. Zhuo Chonglu's mouth twitched. Zhuo Xiaoduo was even more stunned. Didn't I already convince you? You broke it down and talk so much. Why do you still want to hit puppies? This. Sister Nian Nian? Shut up. Shda. After listening to Zhuo Xiaonian's explanation, Blacksmith Wu studied it for a long time and said in a low voice, The puppies you mentioned can definitely be hit, but it's a bit of a waste. For your sword we will use 1,000 fantasy gold, mixed with heavenly witch copper, and the ice soul silver, sky heart chromium, and wind supporting essence. It can completely create a holy, noble, and cold ice phoenix sword. The sword hilt can be designed with the head or tail of a phoenix. For the overall structure of the sword, it's fine. It's beautiful and complements each other. But if it's a puppy's, Uncle Wu thought about it carefully. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that it was unimaginable and indescribable. He couldn't help but be speechless for a long time. What's wrong with girls these days? After such an awesome sword was forged, there might not be a second peerless divine sword in the whole continent. Why would a puppy's be mounted on it? Also, a puppy's was a puppy's. What the hell was a puppy's? Why did it have to be a cute puppy's? What kind of aesthetic was this? It was simply unbearable. Swishaonian said, "It's fine if the puppies are not obvious, but the eyes must be cute, the ears must be cute, and the mouth must be cute." Blacksmith Wu was stunned for a long time and said dejectedly, "I'm sorry, I can't do anything about this. Why don't you find someone else?" She was actually asking him to leave. "I have forged weapons my whole life." However, she couldn't imagine how a puppy with eyes that should be very obvious, ears that should be very obvious, and mouth that should be very obvious could achieve puppies that are not obvious. "This is simply making things difficult for me, fat tiger." Zhuanglu naturally understood what his daughter was thinking. So he tried to mediate the situation. "Old Wu, you can't back out now. This girl's request is a little unusual, but you can ignore her. The sword hilt will still follow your original design of the Ice Phoenix. You just need to carve 2 lifelike puppies on the pattern of the sword guard. They will surround the Ice Phoenix on the left and right sides." So Xiaonian's eyes lit up and said, "Yes, yes, just like that. As expected, Daddy is the most resourceful." Blacksmith Wu looked at Zhuanglu in disbelief. His eyes were full of disbelief. "Is this the person in front of me, the one I know? Damn. I really don't understand this world anymore." Zhuanglu stood at the side with an "I've been ignored. I've been abandoned" expression. Sure enough, in the end this puppies actually still wanted to fight. "Ditto, from now on the puppies will always be in Yin Yan's palm. Humph. Palm it is. What's the big deal? What about you?" Blacksmith Wu turned his head and asked Zhuanglu. I also want a sword 3 feet long, standard type. It should be as light as possible, preferably no more than half a kilogram. The lighter the better. If it can be made as thin as paper, and has the characteristics of hardness and sharpness, it should not break no matter what. This request isn't too high." Zhuanglu gestured the sword in his heart with his hands. Blacksmith Wu put down the hammer in his hand and couldn't help but rub his face with his big hands. "This request isn't too high. A sword 3 feet long, standard type, as light as possible, no more than half a kilogram. The lighter the better. If it can be made as thin as paper, and has the characteristics of hardness and sharpness, it should not break no matter what. Listen, is this something a human would say? I also want a sword like this one. Who will make it for me? You might as well say, you can make me a sword as tall as a building, but it should not exceed half a kilogram." Baswa. Blacksmith Wu looked at Zhuanglu with a sullen expression. "I really can't do this job. Why don't you try other masters?" "Not only can I not do it, I have never been so sullen in my life. Did you ask me to come here just to let your son and daughter play with me?" Zhuanglu almost laughed out loud. It was really rare to see Blacksmith Wu being bullied by a customer's request. "Don't go too far." Zhuanglu looked at Zhuanglu seriously. "Your request is not realistic, change it." Zhuanglu looked at Zhuanglu with a wronged expression. "Dad, didn't you say that Master Wu is a first-class craftsman? My request is so simple." Zhuanglu glared at him and said, "Nonsense. You should think about your basic requirements. A sword that's 3 feet long should weigh no more than half a kilogram. Both you and Yin's weapons are based on the 1,000 illusion gold, which is extremely dense. No matter how thin and light it is, its basic weight is still there. How can you have both of them? Not to mention you want it to be both sturdy and sharp. You must be dreaming." Zhuanglu's face was full of bitterness as he muttered, "I was thinking too much. I only thought that an outstanding craftsman would be able to do what others can't and forgot the basic concept. How about this? The treasured sword will still be 1 meter long and a standard model. The lighter the better. It would be best if it was as thin as paper, but it still has to be strong and sharp." Zhuanglu looked at Wu Taijiang and said, "If that's the case, it's not too much, right?" This time Wu Taijiang only frowned and thought for a moment. Then he began to work. After a while, he slowly condensed a sword with his spiritual energy and looked at Zhuanglu. "How about this?" Zhuanglu nodded vigorously. Yes, I'm not picky about the style, As long as it meets my basic requirements. Wu Taijiang pondered again. He took a few pictures and changed the style. How about this? Yes. Can I ask for some monthly tickets, subscriptions, and recommendation tickets? Chapter 187. Zhou Xiaoduo nodded vigorously again. He had to admit that Rinpoche was a professional after all. These two designs were much better than what he had imagined. How about this? Wu Taijiang changed 7 or 8 designs in a row and took pictures of all of them. Then he projected them on the wall. Pick any one of these swords that you like the most. Then I'll make a thin one. Zhou Xiaoduo was already dazzled. Fortunately, he did not have difficulty choosing. He closed his eyes and casually pointed. I'll take this one. Okay. Zhou Xiaoduo's treasured sword had been decided. Wu Taijiang asked again. Based on your body, footwork, and mannerisms, you should be a strength-type cultivator. You must want to make other weapons, right? Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes flashed. He immediately gave a thumbs up. You have sharp eyes. I'm also planning to make 2 big hammers. As the saying goes, if you have a hammer in your heart, you can smash anything. However, there are a lot of additional requirements. Wu Taijiang smiled conceitedly. Hammers? I'm not bragging. I've made all kinds of hammers in my life. It's hard to count. I've made at least thousands of pairs of hammers. No one who asked for a weapon would be dissatisfied. With a crash, countless hammers appeared on the projection wall. There were many different types of hammers and they were dazzling. There was no similarity. Round, oval, square, wintermelon hammer, cucumber hammer, watermelon hammer, honeydew hammer, square hammer, octagonal hammer, meteor hammer, thousand-faced hammer, mother and son hammer. Zhou Chonglu was dazzled. He could not help but say in Sichuan dialect, so many hammers. He could not help but sigh in his heart. When his son was young, he often scolded him. What kind of hammers are you making? In the end, when this guy grew up, he actually made a pair of hammers? Life. Zhou Chonglu thought. Zhou Xiaoduo looked at all the hammers on the wall and shook his head. He waved his hand. My ideal hammer is different from these. These are too simple. Shda. Wu Taijiang suddenly had an ominous premonition in his heart. He still had lingering fears from the lessons of the past. What kind of hammers do you want to make? So what if you have your own plan? I plan to. Zhou Xiaoduo walked over and picked up a pair of hammers, saying, Uncle Wu, please enlarge this. Wu Taijiang obeyed. Uncle Wu, look at this hammer handle. It's a little longer, about 2.5 feet long. 2.5 feet. Wu Taijiang was a little confused. If you play with hammers, why do you need such a long handle? If he wasn't careful, he might hit himself in the waist. Also, if it's too long, it won't be easy to wield it. It will also take a lot of energy to wield it. Don't worry, I've already calculated it. It must be 2.5 feet long, and there must be a groove on both sides. A thin and narrow sword that can be pulled out at any time, but when it's not pulled out, it will only look like the handle of the hammer. No one will be able to tell that there's a sword hidden inside. That shouldn't be too difficult, right? Not difficult. Wu Taijiang glanced at Zhou Chonglu and murmured, This guy is really cunning. Zhou Chonglu rolled his eyes and looked at the ceiling. That's cunning? How is that even possible? Uncle Wu, look at this hammer handle. My plan is that the middle should be hollow, and there should be a chain inside. The chain should be about 10 meters long and it should be enough. When you need a long-range attack to catch your opponent off guard, it can fly out directly and then be pulled back. Well, a meteor hammer. Zhou Xiaoduo coughed. The middle of the hammer handle is hollow, and there's a chain inside. There are grooves on both sides and there's a hidden sword. This shouldn't be too difficult, right? It's not very difficult. Zhou Xiaoduo was exultant. This way, when others think that this is a heavy weapon that can only be used in close combat, and they're complacently distancing themselves from me to consume my strength, I'll fly out with a bang. Their expressions must be very interesting. Interesting. That's for sure. Wu Taijiang's facial muscles twitched. He glanced at Zhou Chonglu again and murmured, That's really cunning. After thinking for a while, he said, If you plan to design it like this, the materials of the hammer handle and chain must be carefully considered. Ordinary metals definitely won't meet your requirements for hardness. I'll have to think about it seriously, but it's still possible. It's not difficult. It's good that it's not difficult. Zuo beamed with joy. Then let's talk about the design of the hammer itself. Wu Tiezheng's eyes widened. You've been talking for so long, and it's still not the design of the hammer itself? I have an ominous feeling. Zuo was in high spirits. I plan to make a hollow hammer. Well, the middle of the hammer body should be solid, a big piece, and then there should be a gap between this big piece and the hammer face. Gap? Wu Tiezheng's eyes widened. A hollow hammer is already ridiculous enough. If there's a gap, is it still a hammer? Yes, there should be a slight gap. Isn't this a 100-faced hammer? There are about 70 faces in the front and the left and right sides. Leave 2 shooting holes on each face. Then, set up a mechanism inside. A hammer face has 2 holes. One hole is for the oxhair needle, and the other hole is for the awl needle. As long as the vital energy is activated, you can choose between single or consecutive shots. There should be 20 to 30 needles in one hole, and 10 awl needles in one hole. Zuo coughed. That shouldn't be difficult, right, Uncle Wu? Wu Tiezheng was dumbfounded. He didn't feel good at all. I've been hammering my whole life. This is the first time I've heard of this kind of hammer. This is fucking cunning. I'm a grandmaster of cunning. Wu Tiezheng turned to look at Zuo. The muscles on his face kept twitching. Finally he asked Brother Zua, is this really your son? Your biological son? Zuochonglu's face darkened. What else? Do you want to come over for dinner tonight? Wu Tiezheng's face stiffened. After a while he smiled and said, No. I have to concentrate on making weapons for the children. I have to prioritize things. Zuo had a harmless and youthful face as he innocently asked, Uncle Wu, look at this hammer, can it be used? Yes. Wu Tiezheng's face began to distort. But it will take more than a month. Your request is too complicated. I have to think about it carefully. It's not that complicated. Zuo found a piece of paper and started to sketch. Look, Uncle Wu, first make this hammer face, then make the inner hammer. Naturally, there shouldn't be a hollow space between the inner hammer and the hammer face. Use this small column to fix it and weld it. Then, one by one, the mechanisms here are designed one by one. Actually, you only need to prepare 2 types of mechanisms. As long as you create the first set and model it, the rest will naturally follow suit. It's very easy. As for the mechanism, it doesn't need to be too strong. The oxhair needle can be lethal within 50 meters, and the awl needle can have a shooting range of 300 meters. There shouldn't be a big problem, right? Zuo asked. I can't do it. Wu Tiezheng shook his head like a rattledrum. What kind of joke was this? How could the oxhair needle be shot 50 meters away with the power of the mechanism and still be lethal? Do you know what a oxhair needle is? It's not much heavier than a catkin. How could it be shot 50 meters away? Are you kidding me? How far can you make the mechanism? Zuo looked slightly disappointed. He felt that the so-called superclass blacksmith introduced by his old man didn't seem to have any other characteristics other than shaking his head. It had only been 10 minutes, but he had already said I can't do it, and find someone better several times. If you can't even do this, how can you be a blacksmith? How can you be worthy of such a high title as a blacksmith? If Wu Tiezheng knew what Zuo was thinking, he would definitely grab the steel furnace in the room and smash it on this kid's head. Let's talk about it after refining all the water out of this kid's head. What you're talking about, even if the entire continent or the entire universe covered the Milky Way, there might not be anyone who can do it. This was purely making things difficult for him. As far as I know, the oxhair needle can only be lethal if it's more than 10 meters away in the entire continent of astral souls. Moreover, it must land on bare skin. Wu Tiezheng said weakly. Then set up a mechanism that can shoot at least 10 meters away. Zuo said, by the way, with the addition of true qi, it can increase the shooting range by quite a bit, right? The mechanism can't be controlled by true qi. Wu Tiezheng rolled his eyes. Oh. Zuo was a little disappointed. He once again called him a useless person in his heart. Then asked, what about the cone needle? It's easier to make the cone needle. It can guarantee that it's lethal within 50 meters. Wu Tiezheng calculated. If the hammer face is made with a hole, it won't deform under heavy impact, right? Zhou Xiaoduo asked again. It depends on the material. Although the 1,000 fantasy gold is good, it can't be deformed unless it's indestructible gold. Wu Taijiang rolled his eyes. Then we'll use indestructible gold for the hammer face. Wu Taijiang said weakly. 1 kilogram of 1,000 fantasy gold can only be refined into half a kilogram of indestructible gold. 25 grams is the limit. As long as you can make it, the material is not a problem. Zhou Xiaoduo said generously. We have a lot of material, it's more than enough. More than enough. Wu Taijiang looked at Zhou Chonglu doubtfully. Zhou Chonglu coughed and had to smooth things over for his son. It's more than enough. Little Nan sent some over a few days ago. Wu Taijiang said sympathetically. Little Nan, it's so hard. Zhou Zhonglu immediately shot him a stern look of warning. He also received an invitation letter that was about to be handed over to Zhou Zhonglu. Wu Taijiang felt a chill run down his spine. The material is not a problem. It can definitely be used, right? Zhou Xiaoduo asked eagerly. It can be used. Wu Taijiang gritted his teeth and said. He could feel that these 2 hammers were very likely to be the most expensive and luxurious hammers he had ever made in his life. It's good that it can be used. Zhou Xiaoduo was beaming with joy. He felt that this blacksmith had some skills. He could barely be considered a competent blacksmith. How many kilograms do you estimate these 2 hammers to be? The weight must be accurate. The more Wu Taijiang thought about it, the more he felt that there was a big problem. He couldn't help but ask if it's too small, it won't be able to hold so many things. But if it's too big, it will be too heavy. Using a weapon like a hammer is not as simple as just lifting it and smashing it. No matter how heavy the hammer is, in the hands of the user, it must be as light as a feather. This really requires a lot of strength. Especially with your material, the requirements are even higher. Chapter 188. Wu Taijiang said, the density of the 1,000 illusion gold is extremely high, and the imperishable gold extracted from it is even higher. Even if you are a strength-type cultivator, you may not be able to bear it. Especially with your designs, you still need to train in all aspects such as lifting heavy things as light, lifting light things as heavy, and so on. The difficulty is extremely high. This is indeed a problem. Zhou Xiaoduo pondered for a moment and said, if I use all my strength now, I can probably lift a weight of about 10,000 jin. Wu Taijiang's eyes bulged. Later stage of the innate realm? No. Zhou Xiaoduo couldn't help but despise this blacksmith for not being able to see through his cultivation. It seemed like this blacksmith was also a cultivation newbie. Martial arts master pinnacle. Wu Taijiang coughed and looked at Zhou Chonglu with a shocked expression. Didn't you see that this brat is a strength-type cultivator? He has some natural strength, so it's not worth mentioning. Zhou Chonglu smiled reservedly. It is indeed very ordinary and not worth mentioning. Wu Taijiang's mouth twitched, and he swallowed the words he was about to say. I plan to start using this weapon when I am in the origin alchemy realm, or the higher stages of the embryonic breathing realm. Also, I have to keep using it, so it will probably take a long time. Zhou Xiaoduo estimated for a moment and said, do you think it's too light if one hammer weighs 4,000 jin? Wu Taijiang was shocked. It's not too light, not too light. Then 8,000 jin. Zhou Xiaoduo asked himself, and immediately denied it. It's already 8,000 jin, so why would I need another 2,000 jin? Wu Taijiang was shocked and said, 10,000 jin? 2 hammers would be 20,000 jin? Zhou Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and said, 9,999 pounds. Wu Taijiang was having a toothache. You are already 9,999 jin, so why would you need that 1 jin? Do I need to control it so precisely for you? It has to be easy to dismantle, easy to assemble, easy to operate, and smooth. That includes the hidden weapons inside. It can't be broken after a few uses. As for the chain, think of a way to use it. It has to be tough and sturdy. Zhou Xiaoduo finally made his last request. By the way, give me a kitten accessory at the head of the hammer, the kind that looks cute and cute. Zhou Xiaonian was furious. What did you say? This time Zhou Xiaoduo was unyielding, which was a rare sight. Yes. Even if you beat me to death, I still want it. In the future, when my hammer shakes the entire continent, it will be called the 99 Cat Hammer. Zhuo Xiaoyan fumed and was about to explode on the spot. Zhuo Chonglu stopped her. That's fine too. Yan Yan, stop fooling around. Zhuo Xiaoyan angrily stopped what she was doing and said, Dad, you're just siding with your own son. Zhuo Chonglu defended himself. When you wanted to carve the dog, I didn't say anything either, right? I was clearly trying to smooth things over. Why are you siding with your own son? You're still my daughter. While they were talking, Wu Taijiang felt like he had been struck by lightning, one after another. 99 Cat Hammer? What kind of lousy name was that? Besides, he could already imagine how powerful the hammer was, but he had to carve a kitten on the handle. A cute kitten. It was like rolling thunder, wasn't it? Zhuo Xiaoduo's face was full of yearning. His eyes were full of reverie. Think about it. When the time comes, I'll be facing thousands of soldiers and horses. I'll stroke the kitten while swinging the hammer. When I'm excited, I'll grab the kitten's tail and throw it out, sweeping away thousands of soldiers. I'll stroke the kitten here and smash the people there. Zhuo Xiaoyan fumed and stepped on him. Zhuo Xiaoduo nimbly dodged, his eyes shining. Ayaya, this name can't be better. Wu Tiejiang's head was full of thunder. Stroke the kitten while swinging the hammer? This image was too beautiful. But this kitten, these two hammers plus the hollow design. Even if they were made with the densest metal, everything would be made with the best materials. Wu Taijiang said speechlessly, I'm afraid the diameter would be less than 1 meter. Unless such hammers can't be swung, once they're swung on the battlefield, they'll definitely be a peerless weapon. Wu Taijiang imagined the scene and trembled all over. He felt his hair stand on end. Trembling, he said, such a weapon, are you sure you want to carve a kitten on it? Zhuo Xiaoduo said firmly, this is a prerequisite. There's no room for discussion. We can't miss out on anything but this. Suddenly reminded of something, he said, oh right, the design of the hammer should have a pattern, right? It'd be best if it's a dark phoenix. That'd be even better. Phoenix. Wu Tiejiang's voice changed. You're a man, but you want to carve a phoenix on the hammer? Zhuo Xiaoduo looked at him strangely. Why are you making such a fuss? Isn't this normal? I'm making a fuss? Wu Taijiang was completely convinced. Okay, I'll do it for you. Where are the materials? What's wrong with this world? Am I, Wu Taijiang, really outdated and about to be eliminated? What were these young people thinking about? I really don't understand. The materials are here. They're all yours. Zhuo Xiaoyan handed over the ring in her hand. Wu Taijiang took it and looked at it. He frowned and said, we have enough 1,000 fantasy gold and heavenly witchcraft copper. But the rest? Zhuo Zhonglu answered from the side, Old Wu. Wu Tiejiang's cheeks trembled. Ah, brother Zhuo? We're neighbors. We'll take care of each other in the future. Zhuo Chonglu said meaningfully, as an uncle, you must take care of the children's weapons. We haven't prepared the materials yet, so you'll have to pay for them first. Zhuo Chonglu patted Wu Tiejiang's shoulder and said, when we're done, we'll settle the accounts together. I'll give you everything together, including your salary. Wu Tiejiang's eyes widened. But Zhuo Zhonglu replied with a smile, it's just a pair of hammers, a few swords, and some scattered concealed weapons. What's the big deal? I know you want to say forget it. But I can't do that. After all, you've put in a lot of hard work and tiredness. How can I take your hard work for free? Who said forget it? What did I say? Look at how noble you are. You can't take it for free. Wu Tiejiang's face turned red. No, I mean, I know you have it. I know. Zhuo Chonglu interrupted. How can a blacksmith be short of materials, don't you think so? Wu Taijiang struggled. But these. I understand. Zhuo Chonglu smiled and said, it's settled then. Wu Tiejiang's face turned red. Why? Zhuo Chonglu said, after we're done, I'll ask my sister-in-law to cook a few dishes and treat you to a big drink. We're brothers, haha. Wu Tiejiang's complexion turned pale, and he immediately lost his breath. After being stunned for a while, he said weakly, forget about drinking. I'll do my best. Zhuo Chonglu said, then I'll leave everything to you, my good brother. Boswa, you're too kind. It's my duty. Wu Tiejiang's face twisted. He looked at Zhuo Chonglu as if he was about to cry. It's my duty. Good brother. Zhuochanglu patted Wu Tiezheng's shoulder. Let's keep in touch in the future. Wu Tiezheng sat down on the chair and muttered, I'm not rich. I wouldn't dare. Zhuochanglu laughed and said, let's not talk about this. You're being too polite. How many days will it take for your daughter and son to finish the swords? Wu Tiezheng did some calculations and said, it's easy to finish the swords. 3 days. I'll finish it in 3 days. It's just that the hammers are more troublesome. Got it. Zhuochanglu said straightforwardly. Then I'll come and get them in 3 days. I'll bring them home directly. These 2 children still need to cultivate. I won't let them come. Sure. Zhuochanglu said, you two go back and do whatever you need to do. Zhuoxiaoduo, aren't you still in school? Zhuoxiaoduo scratched his head. I took the afternoon off. He looked at his watch. It was not even 2:30. He said, should I go back to school directly? Zhuoxiaonian also said obediently, I'll go and find master. Go. Zhuoxianglu drove his son and daughter away. Wu Tiezheng watched the 2 people disappear. His face was pale and his eyes were red. He felt like he was about to cry. Brother Zhuo, aren't you cheating me? Zhuochanglu said apologetically, brother, I'm sorry. Now the burden of the whole family is on my shoulders. Even a landlord's house doesn't have any extra food. You don't know how much Xiaoduo can eat in one meal. Your brother Zhuo is so poor that he's about to sell his blood. If you really feel that it's difficult, you can ask your sister-in-law to cook 2 dishes tonight. My wife and I will thank you in person. Go and take care of the shop. Wu Tiezheng pushed Zhuochanglu out. I wouldn't dare to drink or anything like that, even if you beat me to death. You go about your business and I'll work. I'll work, okay? Haha, thank you. Zhuochanglu also left. Wu Tiezheng sighed until his throat was smoking. He finally accepted his fate and began to work. This is fate. Clink, clink, clink. Blacksmith Wu started to work, and his work efficiency was extremely high. After all, there was only one thought in his mind. I have to finish as fast as I can and leave this place as soon as possible. This place is really not a good place. It's too scary. In this city, there's a feeling of fear and trepidation every moment. That meal is definitely not to be eaten. He was sweating profusely when he suddenly felt a shadow flash in front of him. It was Zhuochanglu again. He walked leisurely with his hands behind his back. He clicked his tongue and said, Old Wu, are you busy? Wu Tiezheng could only straighten his back. Yes, I am. Well, Old Wu, I thought about it. These are the weapons of the 2 children. Zhuochanglu frowned and thought for a long time. Then he said with a heavy heart, you don't have to sign your name. Wu Tiezheng's eyes widened. What? I can't even leave my name on the 2 divine weapons that I made with my own hands? There should be a limit to your bullying, right? Chapter 189. Zhuochanglu coughed. You can sign their names elsewhere, such as on a piece of paper. I'll ask them to keep it and keep it well. Wu Tiezheng rolled his eyes. What do you mean? This is what I think. Zhuochanglu said, do you think these 2 weapons are unique in this world? He looked at Wu Tiezheng meaningfully. Wu Tiezheng's face suddenly changed. He thought for a while and said, you're so thoughtful. Well, do you understand? If you insist on leaving your name, it will inevitably involve karma. Zhuochanglu said thoughtfully, if you insist on leaving your name? I know. I won't leave my name. Wu Tiezheng thought it through very clearly. Your son and daughter are indeed dragons and phoenixes among men, and are blessed by the heavens. But at the same time, they are also accompanied by the heaven-soaring baleful tribulation. Once they reach the nirvana tribulation stage, the road ahead will inevitably be filled with a reign of terror, and it will always accompany them. Zhuo, I have to admit that you're right. If I were to leave my name behind, just the karmic ties of your son and daughter would implicate me to death. This should indeed be avoided. You're right. Zhuochanglu nodded slowly. There was a slight worry in his eyes. Yes, if they can pass the tribulation, they'll have a bloody life. Especially Xiaoduo. He's too murderous. His weapon is a lethal weapon. As the person who made the weapon, you're already involved in karma. If you leave your name. That's right. However, as his biological parents, I'm afraid this is what we should bear. Shuchonglu looked indifferent. As parents, how can we not bear the karma of our son? Can they pass the tribulation? Wu Taijiang asked with concern. I don't know. Shuchonglu said softly. Everything depends on their fate. Wu Taijiang lowered his voice and said, If you do it yourself, Shuchonglu shook his head worriedly. If I could, I would want to. Unfortunately, I can't do it. Wu Taijiang's face was full of worry when he heard this. He said, in that case, wouldn't the future of these two little fellows be very uncertain? Shuchonglu said quietly, originally, only female children would enter the calamity, but now they have the same fate. Wu Taijiang asked, how are they? Shuchonglu looked more and more worried. He muttered, he's faster than us. Much faster. He's already decaying. Wu Taijiang said in shock. Even with the strength of you and your wife, you can't suppress him? Shuchonglu sighed with melancholy. He was much more ruthless than the two of us. He actually completely abandoned his memories and even used the aura observation technique to forcefully extract his lifespan. He used an extreme method to take advantage of the situation. At that time we didn't think of this. What we experienced was only the purest mortal tribulation. Later on, what's done can't be undone. The two of us have already restrained each other. We can no longer interfere. Besides, he was earlier than us in the first place. By the time we discovered it, we were already too late. However, his tricks are not the right way. Wu Taijiang said. I believe that in the future, he will no longer be your opponent. Shuchonglu was silent for a long time. He said, now we can only take one step at a time. Both sides are suppressed by the heavenly Tao. So what? In fact, it will take at least a few decades for an official battle. Under such circumstances, can he make a move? No. Both sides are suppressed by the heavenly Tao. No one can make a move. But you said that he used an extreme method to take advantage of the situation. Do you mean that he will return earlier than the two of you? That's right. Then how many years can he be ahead of time? Shuchonglu thought carefully. Perhaps in the next 1 or 2 years he can be free. As for us, we will still be restrained here and cannot move for at least a few decades. Shuchonglu said solemnly. This is also one of the most important reasons why I asked you to come here this time. He sighed softly. The last time Nan Xiaoxiong came, I didn't dare to tell him. That guy has a bad temper. Wu Taijiang gasped. If that's the case, won't we be in a state of emptiness for a few decades? Not to that extent. Shuchonglu said. Let the tiger take over. Wu Taijiang murmured. I'm afraid the tiger can't take it. I didn't say to let him take over forever. Can't he maintain a balance for more than a decade? Shuchonglu frowned and said, besides, even if he returns, he used a trick after all. The luck extracted by the heavenly Tao is not small. It will take at least 10 years to make up for it. In other words, we don't have to consider the first 10 years? Wu Taijiang asked. That's right. Even if he reappears in the first 10 years, he will still be blind. Shuchonglu said with certainty. Wu Taijiang smiled bitterly. At his level of strength, how big of a difference does it make whether he's blind or not? A small difference is enough for the tiger. Shuchonglu said indifferently, by the way, did you bring the life-prolonging pill I asked you to bring? Wu Taijiang said, I did. How many do you need? I've brought all 3 of them. One is enough. Any more and I'm afraid it will cause unnecessary trouble. It might even arouse Sky Shaman's vigilance. Shuchonglu was a little helpless. He said, actually, just one is enough for Sky Shaman to react. However, it can still be considered normal. Any more and it will be troublesome. How much lifespan can a life-prolonging pill extend for the blind man? Wu Taijiang was a little conflicted and also a little distressed. This kind of heaven-grade elixir was actually used to prolong the enemy's life. It was really too unreconciled. However, if he didn't extend his life, he could end the mortal tribulation and return at any time. That would be the start of the real trouble. Based on the basic effects of this elixir, it can extend a normal person's life for at least 1,000 years. However, for this guy, 11 is already the limit. His origin has already been depleted by himself. That's too cruel. Shuchonglu said. That's still 100 years. Isn't that enough? Wu Taizong was relieved. Not enough, not enough. Have you forgotten how that blind man is courting death? Zuochanglu was speechless. He used the true spiritual aura observation technique. Anyone who observes aura will have their lifespan extracted. Even if his lifespan is increased by 100 years, it's definitely not enough for him to torture himself for long. 3 to 5 years should be the limit. Wu Taizong was also speechless. This is really fucking. Can we think of a way to stop him from observing aura? Imprison him? Don't let him come into contact with the outside world. Wu Taizong suddenly had a strange idea. What are you thinking? Under the rules of the heavenly Tao, how can we stop him? If we really do that, wouldn't we be telling him that we already knew? Zuochanglu rolled his eyes. If we could really do that, he wouldn't be blind now. Why would he need to use the life-prolonging elixir? I have many ways to make him live 1,000 years. But the problem is, who can withstand the backlash of the heavenly witchcraft? That's true. Here's the life-prolonging elixir. 1 is enough. Take the rest back. We can't waste them here, Zuochanglu said. Okay. Wu Taizong wanted to say something but hesitated. And this Phoenix game now. You must be careful. Wu Taizong was a little worried. Your son and daughter are both peerless geniuses. Because of this, Zuochanglu was silent for a long time. Then he said, the heavenly Tao is balanced. The Dragon Phoenix tribulations rely on their own opportunities to pass through. Outsiders are not allowed to interfere. I only asked you to come here one after another because of the destiny of his parents. But I can't do anything more than that. We can't interfere with the destiny of the heavenly Tao. Wu Taizong sighed. It's difficult, really difficult. He felt that if he were Zuochanglu, he would be in so much pain that he wanted to die. The Phoenix tribulations come one after another, with each wave higher than the last. Zuochanglu said indifferently, this is determined by one's destiny. Step by step, one pushes toward the path of nirvana. It's too common to die halfway. Rumor has it that in the past 30 million years, no one has successfully reached the end of the Phoenix tribulations. The path of the Phoenix tribulations is full of divergent paths. Most of them die on the road ahead, unable to continue. Not to mention that I'm powerless now. Even if I can protect them forever, they won't be phoenixes when they grow up. Zuochanglu's eyes flashed with sadness. Don't worry, I have a feeling that it'll work this time. Even if no one has succeeded in the Phoenix tribulation since ancient times, it'll definitely work this time. Wu Taizong comforted him. I think that kid in your family is a genius. He's really a powerful helper. With his despicable, shameless, and wretched personality, he's willing to use any means possible. Maybe he can reverse the situation and create a miracle. Are you trying to say something nice? Zuochanglu rolled his eyes. Thinking about Zuoxiaodua's temper, he couldn't help but smile warmly. My kid is indeed a huge variable. At the very least, even the two of us didn't expect him to be born. Wu Taizong was dumbfounded to the extreme. That kid is really your biological son. Isn't he like a girl? That? Zuochanglu's face was as black as the bottom of a pot. Wu Taizong, that's my Zuochanglu's biological son. By blood. Really by blood. Zuochanglu emphasized several times. Wu Taizong's eyes widened to the maximum. He suddenly jumped up. How? How is this possible? Zuochanglu's breathing became rough. He glared at Wu Taizong fiercely and breathed through his nostrils. Why can't I have a son? Wu Taizong said in astonishment. But this is clearly impossible. Don't you understand the whole story? Zuochanglu took a deep breath and said. But it just so happened that we had a son. Wu Taizong looked like he was struck by lightning. He said, impossible, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Zuochanglu couldn't stand it anymore. He shouted, you fucking. Go hit your iron. At this moment, do-do-do-do, the sound of a walking stick hitting the ground was heard. In the distance, a blind man tapped the ground with a walking stick and walked slowly in the crowd. Well, today's third watch, please vote. Chapter 190. The moment he saw Blind Hong, Wu Taizong's pupils shrank. He immediately turned around to continue forging. His eyes were fixed on Blind Hong, and his mind was completely focused. Zhuochanglu turned around and walked out of the blacksmith shop. He laughed heartily and said, "Old Hong, why did you come here personally?" As soon as he walked out of the blacksmith shop, Wu Taijiang immediately closed the door. He really wanted to smash this blind man to death with his hammer. Actually, he really wanted to smash this guy with the surname Zwa. Blind Hong rolled his eyes and coughed a few times. He looked even more senile and said, "Boss Zwa, do you have the jade of astral souls that I ordered last time?" "Yes, yes. Come. Zhuochanglu floated Blind Hong into the jade of astral souls shop and helped him to sit down. He said, "I told you before. You're already so old. Why are you running around alone? Just give me a call and I'll send it to you. Tell me, why didn't you listen to me?" Blind Hong tried to catch his breath. He was out of breath and said, "Boss Zwa, I've been lying at home all this time. It's not because of that. I really don't want to wait for death. Only by going out for a walk can I feel that I'm still alive." Zhuochanglu laughed and said, "You're right. Come, Old Hong. I happen to have the best tea here. It can help you replenish your vitality. Look at how weak your body is." Blind Hong said gratefully, "All these years, it's all thanks to Boss Zwa's kindness and support. If it weren't for your benevolence and generosity, helping me many times, I'm afraid my old bones would have been buried in the ground for a long time." Zhuochanglu said unhappily, "We've been brothers for many years. Don't treat me like an outsider. Come. This is a 700-year-old piece of ginseng. It's said that it can prolong your life." He helped Blind Hong into his shop and started to brew the tea. After a while, the rich fragrance of ginseng filled the air. Blind Hong sniffed and the wrinkles on his face smoothed out. He said in a deep voice, "Boss Zwa, this ginseng tea of yours is really extraordinary. It must be more than 700 years old, right?" Zhuochanglu picked up the teapot and filled the old blind man's cup. "Old Hong, you have to take it easy. It's best if you only soak the first cup. Don't spill it and waste my good intentions." Blind Hong grinned with his toothless mouth and said happily, Of course. She reached out her trembling hand to touch the teacup. He touched the teacup, but he touched the other side of the teacup instead of the handle. Blind Hong's trembling end caused the teacup to tilt naturally. With a splash, about a third of the tea spilled out. Ouch! Blind Hong hurriedly brought the remaining 2/3 of the tea to his mouth and drank it all in one gulp. Immediately, he felt his entire body relax. It was an indescribable comfort. He couldn't help but smack his lips in pity. What a pity! I actually wasted half a cup of this top-grade tea that can replenish vitality. What a waste! Zhuochanglu looked at the spilled tea and sighed helplessly in his heart. It's okay. Come, there's more in the teapot. Boss Zwa, your tea. Blind Hong could feel a gentle heat flowing through his entire body, constantly replenishing his body that had already deteriorated to the extreme. Even his broken meridians were beginning to regain their vitality. Moreover, this feeling of being filled with life continued to strengthen, benefiting him continuously. Slowly, there was a strange feeling of returning to youth. Your tea. Blind Hong said in shock, Boss Zwa, your tea is obviously a peerless treasure. How can I, an old blind man, accept such great kindness? Old Hong, after so many years there aren't many brothers that I can talk to. Moreover, I've always been a loner. Zhuochanglu sighed. You're the only one who keeps in touch with me. We talk a lot, but your body is in such a state. Old Hong, you must take care of your body in the future. Take it as accompanying me and living for a few more days. 2 lines of tears slowly rolled down from Blind Hong's shriveled eyes. He groped and grabbed Zhuochanglu's hand. Old Hong. Brother Zwa. It's worth it to have a brother like you in my life. He was trembling. It was obvious that he was really moved. It's a pity that I, Blind Hong, have nothing to repay you with. He thought for a while and felt his body. He drank another cup of tea and slowly felt it. Then he said softly, Old Zwa, this cup of tea has really replenished a lot of my vitality. How about this? When it's convenient for you, let your son and daughter come over. I'll take a look at their lives. This is the only thing I can do for you. Blind Hong wiped his tears and said sincerely, Old Zwa, you're a good man. Your life has been smooth sailing. There's no disaster to speak of. With my little ability, I'm the most powerless when it comes to people like you. However, I heard your son talking the last time I came. That's your son, right? The one who knows physiognomy? Yes, that's my son. That child's body is overflowing with the aura of a genius. However, his life is full of misfortune and calamities. Last time I wanted to take a look at his face. However, I don't have much lifespan left. If I try my best, I'm afraid I'll die before I can take a look at his face. Blind Hong took a few breaths and said, this time you've made up so much for me. There's a lot left. I'll take a look at his face. If there's anything that can't be avoided, I'll help to think of a way to avoid it. I've revealed too many secrets in my life. I'm destined to have no children and be alone. However, I also know that in a person's life, the person who thinks about the most is none other than his own child. As long as the child can be well, the parents and elders can be at ease. Blind Hong said, Old Zua, please don't reject me. Zua Chonglu's face twitched. Old Hong, what are you saying? Children and grandchildren have their own blessings. We're already at this age. It's better for us to take care of ourselves first. Blind Hong was displeased. Old Zua, are you looking down on me? You can give me such a life-prolonging treasure so easily. I'm only taking a small part of it to take a look at our child. What's the value of that? Do you still treat me as a friend? Zua Chonglu's face was full of helplessness. He could only say, okay. When he comes next time, I'll let you take a look at him. Blind Hong opened his mouth and laughed. He was full of emotions. It's rare to have a true friend in life. It's even rarer to have a true friend who doesn't ask for anything. Old Zua, you're worth it. I, Blind Hong, have been used by others for so many years. I've been captured and taken to take a look at feng shui and aura. Those people who would care about my lost lifespan. Blind Hong said with grief and indignation, their lives are their lives. Is my life not also a life? Both of your eyes are blind, but you still won't let me go. Blind Hong grabbed Zua Chonglu's hand and said sincerely, you've replenished me with a lot of vitality. It's your kindness. However, the people who are watching me won't let go of this replenishment. It's destined to be consumed. Since it's going to be consumed anyway, why don't we use it on our child? Let's give our child more protection. Zua Chonglu looked up to the sky and sighed. Old Hong, can't we reject them once? Reject? Blind Hong laughed. Old Zua, the first time I rejected them, I lost my left eye. The second time I rejected them, I lost my right eye. If I reject them again, I'll only be left with this life. It's either I die immediately or I'm at death's door. How do you want me to choose? Since ancient times, the only way is to die. Even though I know that I'm at death's door, I still want to live for 2 more years. Although this world is bitter, who would be willing to die when they're not supposed to? How can I be willing to die in peace? Blind Hong spent the entire afternoon in Zua Zhonglu's shop. The two of them had a heart-to-heart talk for a long time. Next door, Wu Taijiang, who knew the inside story, was sweating profusely as he continued to forge. What the hell is going on? Wu Taijiang muttered to himself. Zua Xiaoduo and Zua Xiaonian parted ways. He rushed towards Second High alone. He walked out of the commercial street, crossed the main road, and entered the pedestrian street. He only needed to cross the pedestrian street and a few small alleys to reach the vicinity of Second High. Although these small alleys couldn't be used by cars, it wasn't a problem for people to walk on them. At this moment, there were quite a lot of people on the pedestrian street. It was bustling with activity. Zua Xiaoduo seemed to be walking slowly but was actually walking very quickly with the crowd for 100 meters. He could already see the small alley between the two buildings. However, at this moment he suddenly sensed something. In front of him, 4 people were walking towards him together. These 4 people were actually wearing retro robes. Their hair was tied up in buns, just like the ancient Taoist priests in TV dramas. They were full of rustic charm. One of them carried a long sword on his back, one held a folding fan in his hand, one held a snow-white horsetail whisk in his hand, and the last one held a long string of prayer beads in his hand. The 4 of them talked and laughed along the way. Their faces were natural and unrestrained. What's more, the 4 of them didn't seem out of place as they walked on the pedestrian street. Instead, they exuded a kind of immortal aura that flowed to the outside world. It made people feel that the 4 of them weren't ordinary people at first glance. They should be the legendary Taoist priests. Duo was stunned for a moment. Because at the moment he saw these 4 people, a few words suddenly appeared in his mind. Qi Watchers. They must be the so-called Qi Watchers. According to He Yuanyue, Qin Fengyang and Li Chenglong, all the Qi Watchers were like this. Besides, Duo quietly felt the aura of these 4 people and came to a conclusion. These 4 people each had very profound strength. How could there be 4 Qi Watchers in Phoenix City at the same time? What were these 4 Qi-gazing warriors here for? Chapter 191. Xiaoduo's heart was filled with doubts and astonishment. Duo glanced at them. Not only did he see the aura of these 4 people, but he also saw from their faces that these 4 people had a thick aura of death lingering on their faces. When Duo saw these 4 people, they naturally saw Duo as well. One of them suddenly exclaimed in surprise. He took a step forward and blocked Duo's path. He smiled from ear to ear and said, "Little brother, I see that your face is different from others." Face? Duo was stunned for a moment. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You're just a Qi diviner. What face do you know?" Besides, talking about face in front of Master Zhuo was the same as showing off in front of God's secret. How dare you? When this person came over, the other 3 people also looked over. The moment they saw Duo, they were all stunned. This youngster's aura was really extraordinary. That aura was far from what an ordinary person could compare to. Could it be that I had just arrived in Phoenix City and was just strolling around the pedestrian street to buy some daily necessities, and I actually met a genius of Phoenix City? Because of this, the 4 people couldn't help but surround him with interest. When the 4 of them moved, Duo immediately noticed that there was a surge of aura around him. It seemed that these 4 people not only had extraordinary abilities, but also had bodyguards secretly protecting them. They were definitely not ordinary people. Duo stopped and looked at the person in front of him with the innocent eyes of a young boy. He was very confused and said, "This Taoist? What can I do for you?" The person who stopped Duo laughed and said, "Little brother, you're still a student, right? Where do you study?" "I'm a student." Duo's face was filled with surprise and curiosity. He blurted out without thinking, "I'm a student of number 1 middle school." "How did you know? How can you tell?" Haha. The man squinted his eyes and laughed. "First high school student. What's your name?" "I'm Tung Hao." Duo gradually showed some impatience. "Why are you stopping me? What's the matter?" It's fine. Meeting you is fate. I'll give you a few words of warning. This meeting was not in vain." That person smiled and said, "Little brother, I see that your face doesn't look too good recently. I'm afraid that a bloody disaster will befall you in the next few days. Remember to avoid it." Duo almost laughed out loud. "So he's a liar." Duo snorted and said disdainfully, "Are you going to say, I'll give you some incense money, and you'll help me find the right path to avoid this bloody disaster? There's no need for that. Just be careful." That person smiled faintly and looked at the top of Duo's head. He said, "Young man, your luck is not bad. You have a strong aura. I purposely made it clear that I wanted to form good karma with you." "Good karma?" Duo snorted and said, "I'll remember your reminder. If there's nothing else, I'll take my leave." That person laughed and handed over a business card. He said, "If you really encounter a bloody disaster, call me at this number." "Okay." Duo took the name card and looked at the 4 of them with vigilant eyes as if he had encountered a swindler. He slowly moved his body and rushed past them from the side. He ran away like a nimble rabbit. After drilling into the crowd twice, he disappeared without a trace. "What's wrong?" The other 3 people looked at the person who stopped Duo with interest. "Brother Feng, what did you see?" Brother Feng laughed and said, "Brother Zhang, Brother Wei, Brother Yan, what do you think? This young man is energetic and has a bright future." Brother Zhang smiled and said, "His green qi has begun to show. He's in the ascendant. His future is promising." Brother Feng, this good karma is formed at the right time. Brother Wei laughed and said, "It's a pity that he doesn't believe it. Besides, Brother Feng's way of striking up a conversation is too old-fashioned. Bloody disaster, haha. Why didn't I see that there was a bloody disaster there just now? Brother Feng said coolly. This sort of thing like a bloodbath has always only existed in legends. How can it really be seen? Besides, we're chi-guessing scholars, not fortune-tellers. Then why did you say it? There's a reason why I said it. Brother Feng said confidently. First, this is a martial arts school student, and he's a genius. He's the best choice. Second, such a genius must be practicing with each other and going out to do missions every day. As for the so-called bloody calamity, although it can be a body full of cuts and bruises, it can only be a small injury. As long as he suffers the slightest injury during a spar or a mission, it can be said to be a bloody calamity. Isn't it? Besides, I didn't say when he'll be injured. I just said in the near future. Logically speaking, such a martial arts school student will suffer a little injury and bleed a little. It might not happen every day, but in 8 to 10 days it should happen once or twice. As long as it happens, it means that I can see it accurately. Brother Feng smiled faintly and said, I believe that when the time comes, that kid will naturally come to me. Fuck. The other 3 people said in unison, you're purely a charlatan. This operation is very. So what if I'm a charlatan? The so-called fortune-telling and trickery that has been passed down for so many years, aren't they all played like this? Chi-guessing has its own origin, but when it comes to fortune-telling, how many people in the whole continent can do it accurately? Is there really such a saying? Brother Feng spoke eloquently. When I see a worried face I say, brother, something bad has happened at home. Seeing a smiling face. Oh, congratulations, there's a happy occasion recently. Isn't this a normal operation? How is it a fancy operation? That's right. Let's wait and see if this kid will come back to you. The other 3 people couldn't help laughing. This kind of deception was really too funny. Zhuo Duo left the 4 of them. As he walked, he looked at his fortune from a shop window on the side of the road. Bloody disaster, my ass. This bastard is just spouting nonsense. He's just fooling me. But these 4 people are undoubtedly chi-guessing warriors. Moreover, they stopped me because they wanted to form a good relationship with me. This should be true. I believe that any chi-guessing warrior with a small achievement can see that my momentum is strong. Zhuo Duo frowned and pondered, however. It's a very bad thing to be seen through by others. Later, I have to find a way to hide it. Zhuo's mind raced as he suddenly remembered that night when he was on duty with Zhuo. The loot he got was the breath-concealing technique in his ring. I don't know if that book is useful. These days, because of Zhuo's matter, he had been so busy that he had forgotten about the book. If he hadn't met the 4 frauds today, he probably wouldn't have remembered it. That book should be useful for reference. Zhuo Duo thought in his heart. That person has been living in seclusion in Phoenix City for so long and has never been discovered. He should have the ability to hide his momentum and cultivation. As for the specific level and how high it is, I don't know, but it should be effective. I'll try it when I get back from school today. Otherwise, when I meet these frauds in the future, they'll come up to talk to me one by one when they see my momentum. It'll be so annoying. People have so many troubles when they're too handsome. Sigh. Zhuo Duo made a turn and entered the alley. He sped all the way to the second high school. It was almost 3 o'clock now, but he could still cultivate in the gravity room for 2.5 hours. Before entering the gravity room, he had to chat with his classmates in class and improve his relationship with them. He had to ask them if they had enough contribution points. He had to show some concern. He could also talk about his troubles and complain. I have too many contribution points. I can't spend them all. I'm so worried at this moment. The higher-ups of Second High were having a meeting. It was a small meeting, and there were no more than 20 people in attendance. However, every one of them was a core figure in Second High. Among them, there were only a few form teachers from the key classes. Yes, there was also Qin Fengyang. The person in charge of the meeting was, of course, the old principal, He Yuanyue. When everyone arrived, they were all very respectful and didn't even dare to breathe loudly. The old principal had not called a meeting in person in Second High for many years. It must be something important to announce. Today, I've called everyone here for a very important meeting. He Yuanyue coughed. The old principal's body seemed to be getting weaker and weaker. She was half lying in the wheelchair, and it seemed that she could only lean on the back of the wheelchair to support her neck. Qin Fengyang sat at the back. He felt his heart aching. She was haggard again. Qin Fengyang looked at her from below the stage. There was only endless pain and sadness in his heart. What I'm going to say is very important. How important is it exactly? He Yuanyue smiled and said, it's probably about my entire life. Everything needs to be entrusted to all of you. When everyone heard this, their bodies stiffened subconsciously. What did she mean? He Yuanyue said calmly, I've worked hard for my whole life in second high, but I've also persevered for my whole life. Recently, my health has been getting worse and worse. I don't think I can hold on for much longer. There's not much time left for me to be conscious. At most, I have 1 year left. He Yuanyue gently raised her hand and looked around, suppressing all the noisy voices. I hope that everyone will be able to quietly listen to me. He Yuanyue said softly, I'm afraid that when I want to make arrangements in the future, I won't be able to speak, and I won't be conscious anymore. So, I'll take advantage of today's opportunity to explain all the things that I haven't done, the things that I'm worried about, the things that I'm regretful about, and the things that I hope to do. I'll make arrangements for all of them. Today was the birthday of Alliance Master Mo Luo Ruishang. Happy birthday to him.